Right. So let me double check. We are live. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us on the Digital Learning Channel. I am Matt Bulka, one of your high school digital innovation leaders, and let's go ahead and take a look at our schedule before we get started today. So, starting here at 12:30, we have MTSS Behavior Support Team Specialist for Elementary Schools. That is with Jordan Hall, and then we'll have Brandon Franklin in the chat. Then at 1 o'clock, we go to PPE, COVID-19, and Safe Crisis Management with some of our health services team. That's Robert Ritter. Then we have our Dig In instructional digital innovation leaders coming on to join me. We're going to do a little backpack refresher for you. And then we will have Danielle Washburn with some people to kick off Computer Science Ed Week. And then we will end at 3 o'clock today with our last session, FEV Tutor with Sean Cicero. So, super excited to have you here. If you want to continue to follow along with us even after today is over, please follow us on Twitter at JCPSDigIn and tweet to the hashtag JCPSDigIn. That way we can give you a follow, a like, a retweet, and continue to spread your brilliance around the district. Also, subscribe to us on here if you haven't yet. You'll be updated every time we go live. And we have all those videos that'll be broken up after today, so you can go back and watch them with the power of pause. So, Jordan, thank you for joining us today. It's good to have you.
Hi, thanks.
So it's 12:30. It's all you. So
awesome. Okay, I will share my screen. Let's see. Can you see me? Are things looking good?
Yep, everything looks good.
Perfect. Okay. So I will go ahead and get started. So I am Jordan. I'm a behavior support team specialist. And today we are going to talk about what our role is and how we can support JCPS now and when we return into school. And so we're just going to review a little bit of who we are and what we do. So who are we? So our team is currently made up of we have a board certified and licensed behavior analysts, and we have a certified school psychologist. And kind of what makes our team unique is that we specialize in human behavior and how to change, shape, and teach behaviors, and, changing behaviors that we, aren't necessarily super fond of in the classroom. And teaching new behaviors we want to see more of, behaviors that we want our students to engage in more to increase their success in the classrooms. And so kind of how our model is set up. So we are split up into zones. Zone 1 is Amy Porter, myself, and Morgan Hunt. Zone 2 is Brandon Franklin, Holly Birch, and Sam Shockley. Zone 3, Kim Moore, Yolanda Williams. And then specifically for middle and high, we have Celeste McGinnis and David Spencer. She was on last week. And our zone support is our school psychologist. She kind of bebops around wherever we need her. And so what is the goal, or what is our goal as our program is being, built? It's relatively new, but our goal is to utilize our expertise to really build capacity within JCPS schools, right? And what does that look like? We really want to empower staff with the necessary skills to not only prevent some of the challenging behavior that we see in the classroom, but also give them the skills to respond to the challenging behavior that inevitably occurs. And with these skills, we're hopefully improving student success in the regular education classroom with least restrictive measures, using those evidence-based practices that we'll talk about. And so how does it align? Why is it important? We really focus, kind of trying to tie it into the pillars, our backpack of success skills, how does our program support this? And so, in order for our students to build up their backpacks with meaningful skills and experiences, they have to be in the classroom, right? And behavior is a barrier at times for our students to be successful and remain in the classroom. And so, what our program really strives to do is teach those necessary skills to teachers, administration, education teams to really provide our students the increased opportunities to remain engaged in that classroom so that they can access the enriched content that teachers are giving them every day. our second pillar being racial equity, our science kind of looks at behavior a little bit differently than maybe some of the other ones that you've heard of, but we really look at behavior from a more functional standpoint. And this, by looking at this through more environmental changes as opposed to individual characteristics of students or maybe opinions, things like that, we really, our science allows us to avoid subjective interpretation. We are really data driven and really, we really look to the science of behavior. And so this really creates an opportunity for us to respond in a more equitable approach to student behavior. And the third pillar that we have is culture and climate, which is where our program is housed. And so with giving our schools the opportunity to have not only proactive supports, but a lot of positive interventions that we can use to reduce the challenging behavior and really avoid situations that could cause challenging behavior, that really impacts the culture and the climate of that classroom. And we know in schools that have a really great team environment, if you have one classroom that's struggling, you that kind of affects the entire building, right? That teacher that's struggling, their colleagues become affected, and their administration that supports them. And so, if we're able to really change that culture and climate by, providing some of these supports, we really can change the culture and climate of an entire school. And so that's all fine and dandy, right? But how do you get us, when do you request our level of support? And so after, tier 1, 2, and 3 interventions are yielding limited response, maybe things aren't changing as rapidly as one would expect. Maybe things are getting worse. Maybe you're encountering new behavior that you're unfamiliar or not used to. Once those tier 1, 2, and 3 interventions aren't successful, that's when it would be appropriate to request our specialized assistants to then step in and really assist in the implementation, the training, and the coordination of those tier 3 services. And we're going to dive into kind of what that looks like specifically. So what do our supports look like in a traditional classroom if we were back in school? Really, when I get a case initially, first thing I do is, review everything in Infinite Campus, look at behavior incidents, attendance, everything. We look at previous enrollments, all kinds of things. And we want to sit down and have that initial conversation. We want the school to paint as clear of a picture for us as they can. And the school really consists of everybody that is involved with that student. So that might be not only just the teacher, but maybe they have a lot of challenges in special area, or maybe, we definitely want to meet with the assistant principal, the principal, really develop relationships with everybody that's on the education team. And so we really want to kind of hear what's been going on. We want to talk about, any previously trialed interventions. We want to review any behavior support plans that might have already been developed. Really get, a clear picture of what's been going on. And then we're going to start completing indirect assessments and interviews. And we'll talk a little bit about what those documents look like in a bit. But so once we have those initial conversations and we kind of have a clear picture of what the need is, then we'll start supports. And so initially we want to remain really discreet. There's nothing more kind of altering than walking into a classroom and having someone go, "Oh, look, Miss Jordan, here, this is the student that you need to be watching for. This is Timmy. The Timmy's in the red shirt." We want to remain really discreet. We don't want to ostracize students any more than they already are by their behavior. And so we want to, and knowing that we're there for them, that might impact their behavior for better and for worse. And so we want to just remain discreet. We're going to probably do several observations. And, I like to try and schedule them for your really problematic times whenever the student is exhibiting the most challenging behavior, whether that be during transitions, during lunch, wellness, whatever, that's when we really try to be there. And then when we're also starting supports, we're also going to be making sure we're looking at any type of data collection system that's in place, because we know that that's necessary for tier 3. So we may help set one up. We may alter one that's already been put into place, or we may say like, okay, great, let's just look at the data and kind of keep going. And so once we have a really clear picture, right, the school has painted one for us. We've kind of observed it, seen it ourselves. That's when we can start trialing and training different interventions. And that doesn't just look like, drawing interventions out of a hat, right? We want to be talking to teachers and staff members on what is going to be the most functional evidence-based intervention that's going to make, the biggest impact for the student, but also what makes sense in your classroom, what makes sense with your teaching style. We really want to develop together a plan that is going to be effective, right? And so, we'll sit down, review it, put the plan together as a team. And then that initial implementation, or when we're trialing things, we've kind of described situations where we kind of want to be the shadow, right? We just want to be watching. But for that initial implementation, it's going to be really important that we're there modeling, assisting with the implementation of those interventions, because we know, just telling somebody how to do something that's not the most effective method of teaching. And so really showing, what this might look like is, me being in a teacher's ear, and I might be like, oh, Miss Jackson, here's when I would go over and, implement this intervention. Or sometimes what I'll do is I will start that intervention for them, and then the teacher will then just kind of pick up where I left off. But really what we're trying to do is provide a much denser level of support at the beginning, so that we can help, ensure that things are going well, and making sure that all team members across the board are really well trained in the interventions, because some of them they feel a little awkward at times, or maybe it's not something that every teacher feels the most comfortable implementing on their own. So we really want to provide a lot of support in the beginning. And as we see that success, right, as teachers communicate to us like, yeah, I got this, like, I'm good. Security team members, whoever, saying, yeah, I think I feel comfortable doing this. And then we begin to become that shadow again in the classroom, kind of just observing, being there to troubleshoot any challenges. And so we might fade to just check-ins coming every so often. Maybe that's, checking in via phone, via email, whatever it is. And all the while we're looking at the data, right? That's something that you'll hear us say 1,000 times is, well, let's look to the data. Let's see what the response to intervention is. Let's analyze kind of how things have been going. And so we'll be kind of doing that all together. And as things progress, right, what does our services ending look like? And so there's no set period of time that we're not going to be there. It's not like, oh, you have 6 weeks of Miss Jordan. No, it's whatever that individual student needs, and when the data reflects a relative decrease in challenging behavior. And I say relative because, we know that some students are going to have some challenges, right? Kids aren't perfect. We can't expect them to be. We also know that some students are going to be tier 3, right? That's factored into the tier system. So we begin to fade when, one, the interventions are running well, and every team member feels pretty confident in them. And two, we may also begin to fade once we see a relative decrease in that behavior. And so that might look like fading some of the interventions. And I'll show you a behavior support plan template that I've included. But that might look like fading interventions, and that might also look like exiting the case. And that might be, having a formal meeting saying things are looking good, school's feeling confident, we've seen a decrease in challenging behavior, we think you got it, how do you feel? Having that conversation. And so that's kind of what things look like if we were to be back into the classroom, back into schools. What do our supports look like during NTI? I think as every role has had to experience, is we're really kind of molding and shifting into what is just generally needed to support teachers and parents in whatever way that might look like. So a lot of what we're doing right now is helping facilitate communication or create communication between schools and families. So, we're doing lots of parent check-ins, teacher check-ins. We really try to work as a liaison to communicate any challenges or needs that the family might have. And what that looks like, I may check in with mom, dad, whoever, once or twice a week. Or once every other week, whatever the need is. And sometimes parents, disclose information to me that maybe they haven't had time to talk to the teacher about, or maybe something just very recently came up. Like I have a student who's struggling with order of operations right now. And so parent hasn't had time to talk to the teacher. It's been a really rough week. Homework's not going well. And so in my check-in, I'm able to gather that information and then report back to the teacher, like, hey, Timmy isn't doing great with order of operations. Mom's not sure how to teach it. What would you, how can I help support you? And sometimes that, specifically that teacher set up a special one-on-one meeting for the student. And then she's also going to follow up with the parent. So really just trying to help create that communication between the schools and the families. We're also providing virtual classroom support. So me and my colleagues are in a lot of Google Classrooms. We really just join the meets to try and provide additional support, such as, reinforcing desired behaviors, helping restate expectations, monitoring chat room, the chat thread. We model interaction styles and responding strategies. So what that looks like, if the teacher is saying, hey, thumbs up if we agree with the story, I'm in the background giving my thumbs up to model for my students what active participation looks like. And then for virtual classroom support, we're also providing some recommendations for whole class virtual reinforcement systems. It's been a learning curve, right, for everybody. And so we're all having to be really creative in the ways that we're doing things. And we're trying to be a good, resource for schools and teachers. And so we're also providing individual virtual classroom support. So if we have a specific student that's really struggling, we may go through the exact kind of process that I outlined earlier, doing assessments, interviews. And I'll show you the documents that we utilize. We'll do some observations. Really, very similar process. We may, with NTI being a little bit more challenging, we may just provide some recommendations for interventions. And at times we have had to create some formal behavior support plans to help support students. And we have been trying to get really creative with the way that we're training, right? We keep saying, the best way to teach isn't always just to tell, it's to also show and do. And so we've had to get really creative in the ways that we're doing those trainings. And I know some of my colleagues are using their children to kind of use for modeling some of the interventions that we want teachers to implement, and then recording it and then sending that so that there is a model, and helping participate and model during virtual meets and things like that. And then we're also providing individualized home-based NTI support. And so if a family is communicating that NTI is a real struggle for them for whatever reason, things aren't going well, we'll outline a very similar process with them, talking to the school, talking to the teacher, talking to the family, creating, going through that whole process of interviews and assessments and things like that. And then we'll help, provide recommendations and interventions to try at home to help increase success with NTI. So, whether that be looking at routines, visuals, really whatever it takes to help that student be successful. And we do our trainings, via live meets, phone, video modeling, all of those things, nothing crazy. And so really and kind of with all of this support, we're just kind of following up and troubleshooting challenges as needed. We just want to be a really good resource for our families and our schools to, help get through this really tough time. And another support that we're offering is that we're providing tailored trainings to schools on topics that they would like, and so some of the schools that I have relationships with are reaching out to me saying, hey, I would like for my teachers to be trained on classroom-wide reinforcement systems and kind of the behavior, expertise behind it. And so I've developed, individual trainings for them and provided, that training via Zoom or Live Meet, whatever. And so we're really just, summary is we're trying to be that supportive resource that I know all of our district really needs right now. And so what are some myths and misconceptions of our support? Like I said, we're relatively new. I think we're like 3 years old in JCPS years. And so really, we've encountered lots of situations, but, some people think that we act as case managers, and that isn't the case at all. The school really knows their resources and their students and their staff members best. We really just help to kind of coordinate and build that team with the school level team to, just help kind of facilitate the process. There's thoughts that we replace tier 1, 2, or 3 supports, and really what our goal is to, really strengthen the staff and school-based team skills so that, hopefully we work ourselves out of a job eventually, right? So that all of these skills and all of that schools feel really, really comfortable in managing some of these challenges on their own. That another myth is that we replace building level response team. And, I will say our team is always down to, help out in whatever ways that are needed, really support staff during, crisis situations, crisis prevention, difficult conversations, everything, all of that. But we really work alongside the team members that are already there. We don't replace them. And that the idea that we provide one-on-one support, we actually don't. We are there a couple days a week with time permitting, usually half days. And like I said, our model is really set up for us to be more consultative, but we're not there. We're not able, just with the size of the district and the amount of team members, we're not able to provide that one-on-one support. And our client is really the teacher in the school. We want to provide that intervention and training to teachers, to staff members, so that they can be successful without us. And so here are some of the support documents. This is a behavior function identification worksheet that I'm sure you guys are familiar with. This is a sample behavior support plan. And this is for a kindergartner that was that required a lot of support. So this is a pretty extensive behavior support plan. But I wanted to use this as an example because you can see, the way that it's set up, our findings from our assessments are on there, defining target behaviors and, what replacement behaviors that we are trying to utilize. We set it up based off of preventative strategies and what those evidence-based interventions are that we recommend, and then a crisis plan. But this was a very long-running plan, and what you can see, is we began to fade interventions without me exiting. And as we saw success from the data, we were able to, start fading interventions from transitions. Instead of having that tier 3 level of intervention for transitions, we were able to begin to fade that back after we saw success. And this might be a way that your behavior support team member works their BSP to begin fading before they actually exit the case. So that's an example behavior support plan. This is a progress monitoring sheet. So you might see this, behavior support team members might be utilizing this to track data. Down at the bottom, there are some spots where you can have notes from different meetings that you've had, and dates, so that you can look back on any notes that you might have that were important. And so, what are evidence-based practices? This is something that I've been saying the whole time, right? Evidence-based practices are the interventions and strategies that we are recommending or implementing that have proven to be effective through replicated peer-reviewed research. It's not what Miss Jordan's personal opinion on what she thinks is going to work, or my neighbor's personal opinion of what they think is going to work. It's what the science recommends, And so behavior analysts and psychologists are really bound by ethics to only recommend interventions that have been researched and proven to be effective in changing, teaching, or reducing those behaviors. And so, what we'll do is, like we said, we want to talk to the team. We want to recommend, interventions that are feasible and functionally appropriate to that classroom and to that student. So we will work with your school team to really build that BSP, find those appropriate interventions, make sure we have a solid, strong, target-based data collection system in place. Will really help, try to monitor the support of how that's, how things are going. And so, how do you make a request for support? So maybe you have a student in mind right now that's maybe having some challenges with NTI, or you're anticipating some challenges once we return to brick and mortar. Teachers, communicate to your administration, whoever you have a relationship with. We get referrals, requests for supports all the time from counselors, ECE, implementation coaches, APs, principals, everybody. I just encourage you to talk to your school-based team, because schools are big, and there may be some resources at the school level, because our district is so big, and there's, there's not a whole lot of us. We really have to save our supports for that high tier 3 level of need. But communicate to your administration that you're having challenges. And then once administration says, yes, absolutely, we need support, whoever can really send us a request for support, but you have your principal, assistant principal, counselor, whoever, send requests for support to Matt Anderson. He is our new supervisor, and he's fantastic to work with, very easy to talk to guy. So send him an email, give him a call. And he will, direct you to the correct zone BCBAs that will be picking up the case. And so we really hope to support your school soon. This is our team, and I will say that we have, a lot of people that are super, super passionate about helping not only students that are, some of the most difficult students to help, but also teachers and administration that really need it. So we really hope to support your school soon too.
Jordan, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. I didn't see any questions in the chat. We have 9 viewers in there, but they're being real shy. So.
Fine.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Anything to leave us with before we end?
Nope. Just still rocking Zone 1. Love it out there. So I hope that we get to get some referrals rolling in. So thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And Brandon, thank you in the chat. We appreciate you. All right. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
All right, bye. All right, everybody. I'm going to do some intro stuff, and I'll be right back with you. So, everybody on the channel, thanks for tuning in with us today. It is 12:57. We just got done with Jordan and Brandon with MTSS Behavior Support Team Specialists for elementary schools. Coming up, we have our Safe Crisis Management and Health Services team with us for PPE, COVID-19, and Safe Crisis Management. After that, at 1:30, we will have our JCPS Backpack Refresher, kickoff to a Computer Science Ed Week, and then FEV Tutor to round out our day. Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at JCPS Dig In. That stands for Digital Innovation. And you can tweet to the hashtag JCPSDigIn. We will give you a like, give you a retweet, give you a follow, and continue to share that brilliance throughout the district and throughout the state. Whoops, that is not where I wanted to go. Remember, you can go to jcps.me/NTI, and you can click on the Teacher Toolkit, and that will take you to our NTI website. You have everything you need there, so you have the live virtual learning schedule, which I just showed you. If you click there, it takes you to the NTI 2.0 Teacher On Demand playlist, which has every video we've done on the digital learning channel since NTI 2.0 started way back in August. We also have some other links on here for the Teacher Backpack, National Quality for Online Teaching Standards. Then we have some other episodes about the curriculum and instructional frameworks, as well as some other tools like Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, Read and Write, so on. Don't forget, if you are in the chat, please let us know where you teach, and if you have any questions, we are super happy to have you here with us today. So, it is 12:59. Robert, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you and your team. Thank you for being here with us today.
Yes, thank you for having us. You want me to share my screen here?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we can see it.
Well, I'm trying to get to the right screen. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, I can. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
And if you don't mind to hit that, you see where it says like Google Hangouts is sharing at the bottom. Do you mind to hit that hide button for me? That way it kind of gets that out of the way for us. Fantastic. Thank you.
All right, are we good to go?
Actually, do you know how to put your closed captions on? Can you do that for it? Actually, it's not giving you the option. Never mind. Yep, we're good to go.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon. My name is BJ Ritter. I'm the supervisor of Safe Crisis Management. I have along with me my team, David Hune. He is my resource teacher for my middle school and high school. Christina Bexaday, she is my resource teacher for my Zone 3 elementary school and our special schools. And then Lindsay Razor, she is our resource teacher for our Zone 1 and Zone 2 elementary schools. So they are joining us today. Also, Eva Stone, typically we schedule to do this training together. However, she's doing another training currently. So any questions that are in regards to anything medical or anything like that, you'd want to reach out to her office to get those questions answered. But today we're here to discuss with you physical restraint response planning with PPE. This training is more geared to our core team members, our Safe Crisis Management trained staff and JCPS, as well as this could be a training for anyone because your principal may designate you to have a role or something like that in the instance that a student escalates to the point that a physical restraint is needed. So what we want to talk to you today about is just things that you will need to know once we return to brick and mortar. The bottom line here is we have to keep the students safe. When we return to in person, even with COVID going on, we still have the responsibility to keep students safe. Now, Kentucky Department of Education has put out a kind of guidelines that we have supposed to adopt and use and follow. And I've attached that guideline here, the link to it. All principals have been shared this information as well. Something that is in this guideline that we really want to emphasize is if you are working with students who fight, or anything like that, or are physically aggressive, they do recommend that you come to work every day wearing long sleeves, jackets or additional layers, just to make sure that you have some type of base protection on in the instance that you do have a student that is biting you, or you have to physically restrain if it gets to the point of danger to self or others. Some additional guidance that KDE has given us is just the proper PPE for staff to use to make sure that they are safe when using a physical restraint. And some of those items are gloves, gowns, surgical masks, face shields. And we've also discussed goggles as being another option, just to have that extra layer of protection for the eyes in case a student spits or the face shield falls off or something like that in the instance that you are involved in a physical restraint. Some of the things that I want to talk to you about. So, that PPE is the guidance that KDE gives. We want to make sure that we are equipping schools with that additional PPE. So my department will be purchasing several sets of that PPE that KDE recommends. The goal right now is to have 3 kits for each A1 traditional regular school. And then obviously our special schools, Waller, Benet, Churchill Park, those schools that do have more restraints, they will have additional kits or sets of that additional PPE on hand at the school site. What we are going to do is we're going to purchase that PPE. We're going to place them in a baggie of some sorts to where all that PPE is available, ready to go in the schools. And each school will be delivered that additional PPE. So they'll have it on site. And what we ask, or what we're going to ask principals, is that they have it somewhere in a centralized location where all school staff, especially our SCM trained core team members, they're aware of where that kit is available in case, we have an instance where a student's starting to escalate. We got another staff member that needs to go get and retrieve the PPE. Another staff member's getting suited up in the PPE. So everyone needs to be made aware of where that additional PPE is. And we're going to have discussions with principals about that. Once again, each kit's going to consist of the gloves, the surgical gowns, the surgical masks, the face shields, and then, like I said, the goggle option. Any additional PPE needs that the school requests outside of what we will be providing can be purchased from the school directly from the warehouse. Good news is all this stuff is available. All this PPE is available at our warehouse. So the turnaround to getting it in the school is very quick, and it's an easy process. Like I said, any additional, if a school thinks they're going to need more than this, they can order that. We will take care of replacing items. So if something gets broke, destroyed, we will replace that. The SCM office will replace that. And we'll give further guidance on how to order that and go through our office to do so. The gloves and the surgical masks, those are all disposable. We'll have several sets. Schools already have those on site. The surgical gowns and the face shield and the goggles, those are reusable. So those are something that can be cleaned after an incident, some Clorox wipes or some type of cleaner to disinfect those, and they can be reused again. So the good news is the things that are the most expensive are reusable, and the gloves and the surgical masks are disposable and easily replaced. The big thing through all this that we're asking schools to put plans in place and make sure that we're ready to go once we return to brick and mortar is to have that planned response. The crucial thing about this all is, what's this going to look like at every school? And it may look different. It may look very similar. But we want to make sure that there is a planned response in case of an incident of a student's begin to escalate and it may get to the point of restraint. The good news is, if anything, we should be getting really good with using our de-escalation strategies. While one staff member is trying to de-escalate a student, there should be another staff member that's retrieving the additional PPE. They're suiting up, getting ready to be on standby in case that the student escalates to that point of danger to self or others. And they're ready to go with that PPE, that extra protection on in case we get to that point. So we really are asking schools to have plans in place. Like I've already said, every staff member should know where this PPE is and what the protocol is to getting that PPE, getting somebody suited up in that PPE and ready to go if the incident results in a student having to be restrained. So we'll be working with school principals and assistant principals and having these discussions with them around ensuring that they have a plan when we're ready to open the doors day one, ready to go. So physical restraint PPE, the big two things that in the instance of a physical restraint, obviously you are touching the student. We're in close proximity. That's obvious. So contact is number one, and that can be contact with blood or bodily fluids, which is why we have the gown and the gloves. So the gown and the gloves protect the contact portion of a physical restraint when a staff member is intervening and having to use a physical restraint. The next thing is the droplets, and that's used when infectious particles are transmitted by droplets. So this will be like spit, students spitting on staff and so forth. And that's where the mask, the face shield, and also the gown, once again, protects those droplets from being transmitted from the student to the staff. And like I said, the additional PPE that I've discussed with Ms. Stone is the goggles, just because we know physical restraints aren't always pretty. And your mask could or the face shield could very easily fly off and your eyes would then be exposed. So for that extra layer of protection, we are looking at possibly purchasing goggles to go on underneath the face shield, just in case the face shield gets knocked off. That way, at least the eyes are protected, which is the biggest concern with the droplets being transmitted via the eyeballs. So limited infection, the risk before, like I've already said, if anything, we should be getting good at de-escalating. We obviously don't ever want to put our hands on kids or physically restrain a kid. That's the goal. Obviously it doesn't always go that way, and the student's behavior continues to escalate, and we just have to go hands-on and physically restrain that student to keep either them safe or others safe. But this is the perfect time that if we haven't been good at de-escalation strategies before, this is when you should be getting good at them, because if we can effectively and efficiently de-escalate the student, we would have to get to the point of physical restraint. So the risk before, ensure that staff are putting on gowns with the long sleeves. Ensure staff that wear disposable gloves, cloth face coverings, face shields, and long sleeves. Ensure that only staff required for safety restraining the students are involved. Once again, we've had this discussion, like I said beforehand, this training is more geared to our SCM trained core team members because they should be the only ones that are intervening and implementing a physical restraint. Obviously, staff that aren't trained in SCM or safe crisis management still can have roles. They can still be part of the de-escalating. They can help with monitoring the staff, the student, the time frames. They can be responding and getting the PPE in the front office where it's all maintained, and assisting in those ways. But we just want to make sure that any staff member that has received the SCM training or the physical portion of the safe crisis management training are the only ones physically restraining a student. One additional staff member should monitor. And like I said, that can be someone that has no idea what safe crisis management is. If they can just keep time, and they can also assist with PPE needs. If they got, help, change placement of the mask is falling off, they can assist that staff member that's involved in the restraint with adjusting their PPE and so forth. So we just want to make sure that we are equipped with that PPE beforehand, ready to go in the instance that a situation is escalating to the point of restraint. Like I said, not all the times can we have this PPE on. We're not going to go to work and be ready to go with PPE, ready to restrain a student all day. That's not bound to happen. However, if we're wearing a long sleeve, we're wearing a jacket, very things that are kind of base layers that do still have somewhat protection. If you're working with that type of student, we definitely recommend that. If a student is getting to the point where they're a danger to self or others and you do not have that PPE on, we still have the responsibility to keep students safe. We still may have to intervene and restrain a student, even though we do not have that proper PPE on. We still have to keep them and others safe. That may happen, and we'll talk about what that may look like if that does take place, how we kind of start to protect ourselves here in a moment. Limited infection risk during the restraint. So this is where we have a restraint on the student. We had to keep them safe. We want to make sure that we keep our hands clear of their eyes, mouth, nose, um, of self and others. Obviously, that's the way the COVID, or any type of germs could spread. We want to relieve a core team member as soon as possible if they're not wearing appropriate PPE. And that's what I was just discussing. So let's say a staff member has to intervene that's trained in safe crisis management, and they do not have that proper PPE on. While they have that student in the restraint, there should be someone else that's responding or that is getting those baggies that are in the front office that have that additional PPE protection in them, and they're suiting up, getting all that protection on, and then they are then coming in and taking over in that restraint, which our safe crisis management staff members know how to do that, and taking over in that restraint to relieve that staff member that was involved initially that does not have that additional PPE on. So that is very important because that's going to happen. So once again, that goes back to having that response and what that may look like, and those discussions and conversations with the SCM trained staff on what's it going to look like, who's going to respond to the front office and grab the PPE, who's going to have this responsibility, that responsibility, and we need to make sure that we are taking over with someone that has the additional PPE on as soon as possible. Avoid long and extended physical holds. This is always a go. Pre-COVID, our time frame has always been no more than 10 minutes if possible. If you hit that 10-minute mark, you have to transition to another restraint. Even more so now, we really want to try to de-escalate the student while we have them in a physical restraint and try to calm them down as soon as possible because we don't want to prolong that exposure or that contact if it's not necessary. So we really want to focus on trying to de-escalate the student once we do have them in a physical restraint as soon as possible so they can be safely released and that decreases that exposure. Now, after the incident, you want to make sure that all PPE is removed, and like I said earlier, the things that are disposable, such as the surgical mask, the gloves, those can just be thrown away, and then that the additional PPE, such as the goggles, the gown, and the face shield, are immediately cleaned, and so forth. So we want to make sure that we're doing that. Avoid touching your face and limited contact with hard surfaces before washing your hands. And after removing the PPE, always wash hands with soap and water for 20 seconds. So these are the basic things to make sure that we kill anything or any germs or anything like that that have been in contact. And like I said, I'm not the medical expert here. My focus is on safe crisis management and physically restraining the student. If you have any additional questions around contact, those type of things, exposure, what you should do, make sure you contact Eva Stone's office and they can assist you or answer additional questions that you may have around those areas. Precautions for staff. If restraint must be implemented without PPE, another core team member should get the appropriate PPE and switch with them as quickly as possible, as I mentioned earlier. Core team members may tire more quickly while wearing a mask, so be prepared to switch out frequently. This is a big one. I mean, even without wearing a mask, you guys know, they always joke and say these elementary kids, they got all this energy and, they don't tire out very quickly. And it's tough, even not wearing a mask, to maintain a physical restraint for long periods of time. Well, now we're adding a mask and we're adding a gown and a face shield and all this other stuff that's just going to make it even harder to breathe for a staff member during a physical restraint. So we need to anticipate that a staff member could possibly tire much quicker and that there may be the need for frequent switching out or changing staff members to take over in the restraint. And once again, our safe crisis management trained staff members know what that protocol looks like and how that transition should take place. This is another reason why I've decided to equip every school with 3 kits because we can have a multiple persons restraint, and then we need to at least have one person on standby that has that additional PPE, and they're ready to tap out somebody so they can jump in and take over and we should have at least 3 SEM trained staff members responding to restraints with that PPE ready to go. That's best case scenario. But we need to anticipate there may be frequent switching out, and there should be one person on standby with that additional PPE on, ready to tap out, ready to take over, and go from there. That's another reason why we want to try to de-escalate this situation, the student, as quick as possible, because we do not want to prolong physical restraint for that reason as well. We may want to consider having an additional change of clothes at the workplace. Once again, that's something you can choose to do. If you're working with this type of students that, an MSD classroom, an EBD classroom, you're working at a special school, you probably already have this. This is probably a plan that you've already had in place. But if not, it may be something that you want to consider moving forward. Okay. And that is all I have around restraint and PPE. Jordan, do you have any questions or concerns?
No, we don't have any questions in the chat right now. Yeah, it's actually been fairly quiet, unfortunately.
Well, this is not a hot topic. It's not a favorite topic. And like I said, it is more geared to, our SEM trained staff. And we will be having conversations, like I said, with the school administrators. And the biggest thing is making sure that they have plans in place and they are working with their school's core teams and ensuring there's plans in place, such as where is the additional PPE going to be? Who's going to be responding to what? Who's going to be getting that additional PPE? And what that process itself looks like. It's not a difficult concept, but it's just ensuring that we have a plan in place at every school just to protect our staff and our students the best at every school and we can. So.
That's perfect. Awesome. Did you all have anything else you were going to share with us today?
That is all I have. I invited my team here. Just if they have anything, they can feel free to jump in. I did want them to kind of see how this was going to go, so they may have to do some additional trainings around this. So that is the purpose for them being here. But if they have anything they'd like to say or add to what I've said, or if I missed anything that they can think of, feel free to jump in, guys. You all good? Have anything? They're a rock star team. We got a rock star team. It's been very difficult us not being able to do our traditional training, so it's driving us insane. But we got to keep everyone safe. So we understand, but we're ready to get back to it, and we're ready to get back to doing trainings and seeing all of our SCM core team members and get back to normal. So, and I think I'm preaching to the choir, but we're ready.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it, and thank you all for the hard work you're doing. It's super crucial to the success of us if we start to go back to where we're around people. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hope you have a great rest of your week.
You do the same. We'll see you guys.
Thank you.
You too.
All right, everybody. It is 1:22. We just got done with PPE, COVID-19, and safe crisis management with BJ Ritter and the rest of his team. So, we are actually going to, let's find another video to play so that way you don't have to listen to me talk for a good 8 minutes until the rest of our digital innovation team is on here. So I'm actually going to find, we were in a meeting as a team earlier today, and we realized that some people haven't realized how easy breakout rooms are to use in Google Meet. So let's go ahead and take a look at this video from one of our former digital innovation leaders who's now at Atherton, the fabulous Kyle Chandler.
Hey guys, and welcome. This on-demand episode is brought to you to discuss the new breakout rooms feature in Google Meet. So very exciting stuff. You'll see that I am the first teacher in this meeting, and I have host controls available to me. So I will have the ability to affect all of these new features, one of which being that breakout rooms feature that we've been clamoring for. So up in the top right-hand corner, you'll notice a new button called Activities. So you as the teacher now can hop over to Activities and on down to Breakout Rooms, where you will see that there are a lot of options here available to you. You can adjust the amount of rooms, and it will immediately adjust how many that you see. You can also you can do a random shuffle if you'd like, and it will drop folks in your rooms for you. You can hit this clear button, it'll take you back to scratch, or you can manually drag and drop folks like so. So I wanted to give you a glimpse of what this is going to look like on the teacher and the student side. So bear with me. I will hit create, and that will prompt all of my participants that were put into a breakout room. That will prompt them to join. If you wanted to, you could even change the name of that breakout room. Before, so that folks know what room they're looking for in the top. So let's go ahead and we'll hit the create button on that, and we'll send that invite out to our participants. In a moment, I'll show you the student screen and what that looks like for them. So it has prompted now me to join this room. So let me drag the student view over, and you'll see that they see the same screen that I was seeing as a teacher. So if I'm the student, I will be instructed to join that room. And I've got a lot of accounts up to show you guys how this works. So as I go around and join those, I'll see that you've probably noticed by now that there is a cancel option on there also. So I will give you a preview of what that's going to look like for you as well here momentarily. And so right now, as this teacher account, I am in the the Google Meet Rocks room. I still have all my host controls, and I can still turn on and off the ability to chat and any of those features we've had before. No one can be added or admitted to any of these rooms unless it's done so by the teacher. I can hop between my rooms if I would like to. So you see right now I'm in this Google Meet Rocks room. Well, let's say I want to join this test 1, 2, 3 room and check in on that. I hit the join button, and it will toss me over into that room now also. So I can bounce around quite easily if I would like to. And so I, as the teacher, am joining this meet to hop in and take a peek, check on what discussion is happening. And here I am. So additionally, I can end the breakout rooms. So if I hit this button up here in the top right-hand corner, I can end those rooms. Are you sure you want to end? Yes. And when I end the breakout rooms, you'll see it's going to try to return me to that main room. The students will also get that message. It will lock their screen out, and they will get the message as well telling them they need to return. So at that time, the student can return to that main lobby. This is the student account you're viewing now. And while that account is returning, I will go around and return all of my other participants that were in this meet with me to demo for you. And you'll see everyone hopping back in. So let's say, however, that you have an invite that gets sent out to these breakout rooms for a student to the Google Meet Rocks room, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and click create, and that's gonna leave these folks in the main room, and then that's going to ask this student to join this room. So let's just say again, for this example, that any of your students do this. If you hit create as the teacher, and the student is prompted to join, and they hit cancel, it's just gonna leave them here in this main room. Okay, it's just left them in the main room, and you see it's still spinning. That tells me the student has not yet joined They have not yet accepted the invite to join the room. Obviously, I can see them here, but if I need a quick reference as to, Johnny Baker here, who has yet to click the OK button, I can also see the breakout rooms are in session, and everyone can see that. So there's a breakout room somewhere. Now, let's say I say, Johnny, you need to click the link. You need to join us. Johnny can say, oh, I hit the wrong button. Okay, and he still has the option to join up here in the top banner. So now Johnny will join this room, and for now, he'll be by himself because of the way we set this up. But that is how you can get them into the room. And as soon as they've joined, they will go. It's telling me it's disconnected right now, actually, the student. That's pretty neat. But if it's able to hop back on and rejoin, you will see them pop up live like the rest of these here. So just wanted to give you a quick overview of this new feature. Again, your ability to edit the breakout rooms, the amount of rooms that you have, the shuffle feature, the ability to drag and drop, the ability to change the names of the rooms and edit them if you'd like, the ability to clear those and start from scratch. And then once you've enacted them, you saw my teacher ability to jump between rooms by simply clicking the join button over here on the right hand side. So I would encourage you to get in or dig in as we.
Alrighty, so let's go back to here now. That was a short video from Kyle on how breakout rooms work in Google Meet. Just wanted to make sure that you all were aware of how those worked. So it's 1:29. We're super happy to have you here. This is like the largest number of viewers I've seen in the afternoon forever. I'm so happy to have you all. So please let us know where you're from, what you teach, if you have any questions. The four of us are super excited to do this backpack refresher with you this afternoon. So as you can see, it is 1:30. We are going to do our JCPS backpack refresher. It is me, Rebecca Reynolds, Kathleen Receiver, Russ Hockenberry. We are sans Elaine Ebenatha today because she's out for some health reasons. But we're all good to go. So we're happy to have you here. My fellow Dig In leaders, how's it going?
It's going great. We are creeping into double-digit viewers right now, Matt Volka. We're ready to do this thing right. Let's do it.
Yes. So I believe it is Kathleen. You're going to share your screen first. Is that correct?
That is right. So
Alrighty.
Hopefully some of those viewers are from our Zone 2 crew, and they're going to let us know that in the chat.
Yes.
While I'm
Ooh.
sharing my screen.
I see Coral Ridge, Klondike, McFerrin, Carter, Cameron. Where else do we have here? Fern Creek High School.
Nice.
Woo. Bates.
Nice.
Lassiter. Let's get it. Thank you all for joining
All right.
us. All right, let's go.
Awesome. So we have a little competition in our team, within our team going on here. So that's fun. So glad all of you are here. Just a quick refresher on how you actually access and get into the backpack for those of us who have been here before, but maybe we have some new teachers as well. So there are 3 different ways that you can access our backpack. And that first way, and probably the most easiest way for many of our students, would be to access it through that JCPS Quick Links folder. And you can see that right here on the left side of my browser. And I am using the Chrome browser. So you want to make sure that you're using that. When you click on that Quick Links, you'll see JCPS Backpack. So that's one way that you can get to the backpack. Another way, you can simply type in jcps.backpack.me, and that will take you there, jcps.backpack.me. And then the third way, if you are in your Google Drive and you navigate over to your waffle, you'll be able to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And we are so fancy that we have that backpack icon right here in the waffle. So one of those 3 ways will take you and your students into the JCPS backpack. Now, if you haven't been there yet this school year, and if your students have not yet been there this school year, I would recommend that they actually log in to the backpack, because even though my screen took me straight into the backpack, you will probably have some permissions to accept. It is a new school year. There have been some updates. You may have some students that have never been to JCPS before. Obviously, our kindergartners are new, so they all need to log in with their JCPS into their JCPS backpack. And when they're on the Chromebooks, that should be fairly simple, and they'll have to click on allow. So make sure you're doing that. So now that I'm in my JCPS backpack, you can see I have several different tiles here to choose from that my awesome colleagues are going to talk about here in just a second. But the first thing I want to show is once the teachers are logged in, remember you do have your rosters button. And I think Matt is going to share more about that in a little while. But once you do click on your rosters, I think that it'll bring you here and they'll start populating your different Google Classrooms. So that's how we log into the backpack. Russ, are you up next?
No, I believe Matt is next to talk about the rostering.
Yes, Kathleen,
Awesome.
do you actually mind to drive for me through rostering really quickly? I'm so sorry. I tried to get OBS to let me add
You
some
told me
scenes and
that.
stuff. Yeah.
No, you told me that, and then I closed out of it. Hold on 1 second here.
Oh,
Sure.
no, you're fine. Thank you. So, do we have any questions in the chat so far? Becca asked, what have your students added to their backpack so far this year? So, and Jim asked if anybody added any Minecraft stuff to their backpack. So, if you're in the chat, please let us know some of the awesome things that your students have added as artifacts so far this year. And we'll share those out after we talk about our rostering. So, Kathleen's going to drive for me here. So let's talk about importing your rosters to your backpack from Google Classroom so you can see what your students have uploaded to their backpack. So as you can see here, we can see that Kathleen has already imported one roster to her backpack, and that is Mrs. Receiver's class. If you have any classes on there from last year, it might say archived on there, and those are just unimportant. You can go ahead and click those 3 dots right there, and if it's an archived class, you can just delete it. We're not going to do that, though, for our current classes. So, if we want to add one of our current classes, we're going to click on the plus button right where Kathleen's cursor is in the top right corner, and we're going to click that Import from Google Classroom option. So when we do this, we want to make sure that we are importing our provisioned rosters from Google Classroom. So you will see all of them listed there. You can see that Kathleen, since she's not a classroom teacher, doesn't have very many Google Classrooms. You will most likely have several of them. But what you will do is you will select one roster at a time. So if she was going to add Miss Receiver's class, she would click on it. She would make sure that it was up to date with the students that she has. And then she would just click that confirm button down at the bottom of that window. And what that would do is after a second or two, if maybe you have to refresh, it'll pop up the class just like we see it there. Kathleen, if you don't mind to click into that class for us. When you click into your rostered class, you can see it gives you the option up at the top to see school year 2021. But then it'll list out each of your students there, and it will tell you how many artifacts have been uploaded into each artifact folder. So you can see that there is one artifact in Effective Communicator and one artifact in Emerging Innovator here. Also, we have that little gray folder right there. That means that this student has gone into their backpack. Actually, am I encroaching on your territory, Russ, or is this still me?
No, actually, that was Kathleen's territory, but you take it, man.
Okay, yeah. Get out of my way, Kathleen. So, if your student has that gray folder there where you can see that it says View Artifacts, that means that they have signed in to their JCPS backpack and allowed those permissions. If they have not signed in yet this school year, it will appear as like I think, is there a plus sign on there? Is that correct?
Oh, well, let me just tell you, Matt, since you told me to get out of the way, there will be a plus sign there. And with that plus sign, so the teacher, I know in the past, some of our primary teachers may have clicked on that folder on the plus sign, and that should create the folders for the students. However, they still need to make sure they log in, because if they do not log in and accept those permissions, that can mess up with the artifacts later. But yes, to answer your question, there'll be a little plus sign there if the student has never accessed the JCPS backpack.
Yep. And so that's pretty much it. That is rostering. As long as you import your provisioned Google Classrooms, which are the ones that sync up with Infinite Campus, the backpack will automatically sync with those, and whenever students are added or removed, they will automatically sync. So Did I miss anything on rostering? I don't think I did. You have to do one
You
class
did.
at a time, though. So
Yes, one at a time. You did great, Matt.
thanks.
Awesome job.
All right, I believe
right,
we're on to Becca.
next.
Yeah.
Up next, Kathleen, if you want to let me share my screen, I'm just going to show you guys 2 videos that we have ready on our backpack playlist.
So, oh, sorry. So as you're pulling those up, Becca, we had Mary Barker in the chat said, "Is there a kid-friendly video to show the kids how to upload artifacts into their backpacks?" And I believe that is the video you were just about to show, correct?
How timely can it get?
Yeah.
Go Mary Barker, Zone 3.
Oop, I might have clicked the wrong one.
Nope. Yeah, that was mine. Yeah.
Maybe I linked the wrong one twice.
And the best part is this video is only like 4 minutes long, guys. So it's not a 10-minute, 20-minute, 30-minute video. It's 4 minutes long, and so it is really kid friendly and power of pause, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right, I'm gonna press play on it. JCPS students, I'm going to walk you guys through how the JCPS backpack platform looks this year so you can upload your artifacts. So once you're in your Google Drive, you can access your backpack through JCPS quick links by clicking on the backpack link, or you can go to your waffle and scroll down to that backpack icon. That's my favorite way. Once you're in there, your homepage is going to look like this, and we're going to go to artifacts to add artifacts to our skill folders. What you're going to do is go to that gray add button, and you can choose a file from your device or your Google Drive, and you're going to find that file you're going to upload, and you're going to press select. After that, it will prompt you to choose the academic year. You want to make sure that you're in 2021, obviously, and then you're going to choose the skills that your artifact correlates with. You're going to click OK, and your artifact is going to pop up at the top. Some really great things you can do with the platform this year is select your tag skill through one drop-down menu. So whichever ones you've chosen, you can quickly go in between as you're writing your reflection. So you're going to use that pencil and you're going to type your reflection in the box, and then you're going to reflect on each of those tag skills. So you're going to select your skill, prepared and resilient learner, and you're going to write your reflection in there. And just as before, it's going to have this really great pop-up and ask yourself some questions so that you can have a great reflection for each of your artifacts. So once you've gone through and written your reflections for all of those, it's going to automatically save. It will tell you if it's updated down at the bottom and how many words you've used. So another great thing is over here on your snowman, you can rename your artifact. You can edit your backpack skill tags. You can remove it from the 2021 year, and then you can refresh your data. So I really like the rename tool because a lot of times you're going to get copy of, or it will be called something that your teacher has named it, but you can make it personal to yourself. So if this was about science, you could say science, 3rd grade report, or whatever you have named it, pop that in there. And that'll clean up your backpack and make it look really professional. So another thing that happens when you start a new school year is your artifacts from the previous years are going to get archived. If you need to access those as you're reflecting on your work from previous years, you can go up to the academic year and toggle in between those years and check out your previous uploaded artifacts and edit those if you need to. So you're going to stay in the 2021 school year and upload that way. Thanks for watching. Okay, and then the next one that we have available, this is going to go straight into
uploading artifacts with your phone? Because I know that's a big question. So we're going to watch Matt's video.
Actually, Becca, before we get started on that, I want to give a few shout outs to some people in the chat. Let me scroll up a little bit. Kimberly Dykes said that her art students have added different artifacts this year, currently doing a project for Native American Heritage Month, uploading under Globally and Culturally Competent Citizen. Somebody else said something on here about an election, and now I can't find it. I'm so sorry. Oh yeah, Tara Murphy, our students just finished a whole unit in social studies on the election that they will upload in their backpack. And then Deborah, I'm going to say your last name wrong, I'm sure. Peden or Payden, I apologize. Their STLP students created a step-by-step slide to teach students how to upload artifacts that they're going to use for the regional competition projects. So, super awesome utilization of technology and classwork that you can put in there.
Yeah, and I just want to give a shout out real quick to Tanya Bates in the chat there, my old colleague from my Chenoweth days. I miss the Batesdale holiday shop every December, Miss Bates. So that's just a little inside thing. All right, thank you.
All right, no worries. And also, Kayla Clark, great job for representing Zone 1, sharing out first what's in your backpack. So keep sharing what's in your students' backpacks in the chat, and we're going to check out this quick video.
Awesome.
Hello, everyone. I am Matt Bolka, a high school digital innovation leader here in JCPS. And today, we're going to talk about uploading backpack artifacts from your phone. So you can see on my phone screen, I have my cute little dog Pip in there. And we are going to go to the Google Chrome app, which I already have downloaded. So we're going to click there. And what we're going to do, so you guys don't have to see any of my personal info, we are going to go create a new incognito tab. You can just do a normal tab for yourself, but I'm going to do an incognito one so you can see me go through the sign-in process. So in my search bar, I am going to type in jcps.me/backpack, and we're going to go there now. I'm going to log in with G Suite, just like you would, and I'm going to use my student tester account. So I use my @student.jefferson account to log in. And I'm actually going to select all, and I'm going to copy that line of text. That way, when I log in via Microsoft in just a second, I don't have to type that whole thing back in. So now it brings me to JCPS office. I'm going to hold down and paste. That way I don't have to type out my email again. It's a pro tip for you. And I'm going to type my password in. Now when I click sign in, you will see that I am in the JCPS backpack. Now, I can see everything here that I usually would. I can see the JCPS choice boards from NTI. I can see Clever. I can see the student success tracker. I can see showcases, and I can see artifacts. So let's go to artifacts. And now you can see that I have full access to these artifacts just like I would on a computer. For school year 2021, I want to add a new artifact, and I'm going to pick something from a file. So let's click on File, and I'm going to select a file from my device. I'm going to go to Photo Library. Now, I'm going to be a prepared and resilient learner. I've learned how to cook some meals over the summer, and I'm going to click on my eggplant parmesan. I'm going to click Done, and you'll see that when I click Upload, there we go. My photo is uploaded, and I have selected that I am a prepared and resilient learner. I'm going to click OK. And so what you'll see down here is something that we encourage all students to fill out as they upload their artifacts. Describe the learning experiences that led to this artifact. So I learned how to cook. And this is up to your school on how this is filled in. It's up to how it aligns with your backpack plan as well. And I could type in there whatever I need to in order to explain how me learning how to cook eggplant parmesan applies to prepared and resilient learner. And that is how you upload artifacts to the JCPS backpack from your phone. I did this on an iPhone, but the process will be very similar on an Android. You just go to Google Chrome, you go to the backpack, you sign in as a student, and then you select your artifacts to upload. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, thanks, Matt. So I saw in the chat our Barker Finley crew shared out that those crayfish PBLs were something that they are putting in their backpacks, and I loved following along with them on Twitter and seeing people interact with each other. And they're currently working on their tiny house project-based learning, and their Google Sheets that they just did with their layout of their house is awesome. You guys have to check out their Twitter and see what they're doing.
All right, awesome. Well, I think Russ, you might be up next, right?
I am. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here.
As you do that, that video we just showed was about uploading artifacts from your phone, but the process is actually similar on an iPad as well. It's going to work exactly the same as it would be for me uploading it on my my iPhone. It's just the screen will be bigger, so it's like dual purpose.
And so I'm kind of here to be the Tony Robbins type motivational speaker for you guys. When I talk about uploading artifacts to the backpack and we get your students uploading their own artifacts, I just want to say that your kids can, all right? I'm going to tell you why your kids can upload their own artifacts. Now I'm talking K through 12 here, that your kids can upload their own artifacts. When we would go into schools in the past, when the backpack first launched, we would always hear from teachers three main problems with uploading artifacts. They would say, one, we've got 500 kids in this school and we've got 1 cart or 2 cart of Chromebooks. You tell me how I'm going to have access to devices in order to make this happen for my kids, make my kids able to upload stuff into the backpack, right? Well, we're in NTI right now. Every kid is on a device, so access is not an issue during NTI, correct? So we don't have to worry about that 1 Chromebook cart being a problem, right? Your kids have access, so check, not an issue. The second thing we would always hear during backpack staff meetings or backpack meetings we would have in schools was the login issue. My kids, they'd be like, people would be like, my kids have this big long email address. Oh my gosh, it's their first name and then the da-da-da-da-da, you know. I don't want to give away the thing in case there's somebody from outside JSPS watching. It's just this big long email address, and then we got to type in their password on top of it, you know, and you expect a 5-year-old to know that. Well, yeah, that might have been an issue before, but guess what? Now they are already logged into their Google account. If they're joining you in Google Classroom or on a Google Meet every day, they're already logged into their Google account. So login, not an issue anymore. The third issue we would hear is, again, goes back to that access issue of opportunity. Maybe you weren't doing much digital work pre-NTI. You probably because you had 1 Chromebook cart per 500 kids. But so like your kids weren't really doing digital work. So you were having to take analog work, like worksheet, like paper work or poster boards or whatever, and turn that into digital things like pictures or video or whatever. You were having to take the analog work and turn it into digital work. But guess what? Now that you're in NTI, everything you're doing is digital. So your kids have a great opportunity to do digital work. So these 3 things, access, login, and opportunity, are not an issue for kids during NTI, and especially during NTI 2.0. Those are not an issue anymore, all right? So your kids can. Remember, when we think about the JSPS backpack, we don't want it to be it's not a permanent record, okay? It's not like when we think of those old permanent records, you know, those movies from the 80s especially really popular about like the principal would have the permanent record, or it's like, this is going on your permanent record, and it would be in a file cabinet in the principal's office, and like no, the kid never knew what was in the permanent record. It was just something that the principal or the teacher was just constantly adding things to, but the kid never had access. With a JCPS backpack, that should not be what happens, okay? The kids need to be very involved with their JCPS backpack. Things should not just be put in there for the kids. The kids need to be putting things in there themselves, right? Okay, so just remember, it's not a permanent record like a permanent record where things are being added and the kid has no say as to what's being added. You know, they pop in 2-3 years later and it's like, how did this get in here? So we don't want that. You're probably like, well, how am I going to do this during NTI? How about trying this? Try differentiated instruction. Man, we've heard that word for years, right? Differentiated instruction. And here it is in this world. backpack world, NTI 2.0 world. Try this. Always, number one, you're going to always give students the opportunity to upload it themselves first before you do anything else, all right? Utilize Google Classroom. I'm going to show you what that post will look like in Google Classroom when you try to get kids to upload it themselves in just a moment. If your Google Classroom post doesn't work, if they struggle with that, have the kids pop in during your office hours or meet with them in small groups, okay? Maybe you had, if you've got 25 kids in your classroom, maybe 5 to 7 of them were able to do it on their own from your Google Classroom post. But then for the rest of them, maybe you meet with them in small groups or they pop in during office hours, and you can have them share their screen as you walk them through uploading, okay? I'm going to give a quick shout out to Thomas Bechtel of Goldsmith Elementary. He gave me this idea about a month ago. He's like, if I have a student that's having a tech problem, I meet with them during office hours and I say, share your screen. And he records that Google Meet and he has them, he walks them through whatever they're asking, like I can't find this file or I can't find whatever. He walks them through step by step. And because he's recorded it, he shares that with that student. And so that student has it 2 weeks later when the student's like, I can't find that again. He's like, go back to the video. All right. So he's creating less work for himself, right? Down the road. So again, always try to give your kids the opportunity to do it themselves first. And what's that post going to look like in Google Classroom? It's just going to look something like this. Good morning. You're going to add your fall project to your JCPS backpack. Number one, watch the uploading backpack artifacts for students video. That's the video we just watched, Rebecca's video. You would just post that in Google Classroom as a link. And then from there, you just say, number 2, add your fall project to the backpack by clicking the backpack link below. Because guess what? There's a 4th way of getting to the backpack. And that is just simply posting the link in your Google Classroom. Backpack.jcps.me, the kids click on that, and because they're already logged into Google, it takes them directly into their backpack. So if your kids can get to Google Classroom, they can get to their backpack.
You know what? I 100% agree with every word that you have said. Our K students, R1 students, K can too. It's really important to take ownership for themselves and get into that backpack. And now that they're at home with their own device, I think that they're perfectly capable if you give them the right tools. So this post would be perfect to put in there into their classroom.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
That was just kind of my Tony Robbins. Your kids can do this. And like I said, there are just those barriers that existed before when we were in brick and mortar where you didn't have the computers and your kids didn't get on the computer that much, except when they went to computer lab or whatever. Those don't exist anymore. Okay. So your kids are in a great position to do this themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I've loved seeing everybody share what they're putting into their backpack and interact in the chat. Real quick, I have our envelopes and with your first and last names, please email me your address and you guys are going to get a sticker in the mail. Kayla Clark, Mary Barker, Kimberly Dykes, Tara Murphy, and Deborah Pendon. So my email is just Rebecca.Reynolds. Or now everybody in the world knows that, but it should be just JCPS people.
Awesome. Thank you. Did we have anything else we wanted to cover on our agenda? I think I'm trying to look. It's very small text on my screen here. We wanted to. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Becca.
We were just gonna remind you of the backpack playlist. I don't know who's sharing screen right now. Nobody. To make sure you're subscribed to the channel and check out that backpack playlist. We are updating that as we speak. I'm working on that now to get videos that are important and updated. So that updated video for uploading artifacts is new. And then every week we're sending out that things to monitor. And there are links on there that are handy for you as well.
And since I don't necessarily have to share my screen for that, I'll show everybody right now. So if you go to jcpsdigitallearning.com, which is where you are now, go to playlists, and then the backpack support playlist is right here, and we can view the full playlist. So you can see uploading backpack artifacts for students is number 1, and then the other video we watched, uploading backpack artifacts from your phone, is number 2. I also mentioned previously in the chat the backpack success skills at home. That was a lesson or a session on the Digital Learning Channel with Justin Elliott and Alan Young from the spring and earlier this fall, and it's great. It talks about how some of the things that your students are just doing with their families at home are things that they can easily upload to the backpack as ways that they're prepared and resilient learners and effective communicators and emerging innovators. So continue to pay attention to all this stuff. We're trying to tweet as much as we can about the backpack lately. Kirk Haynes said, where can we go to see student-friendly definitions or explanations of the success skills? Do one of you want to take that one?
Inside the backpack, actually, when you go to add an artifact, there is a little eye, like for information that pops up, and it'll say, like, when you go to emerging innovator, you click on the eye, it'll say, like, what is an emerging innovator, and it goes into like 3 or 4 bullet points of what an emerging innovator is. So it's actually built into the backpack, Kirk. So that is something they thought about.
Yep, absolutely. And I was trying to pull up on my other screen here the new normal. In the new normal, it'll break down the backpack success skills into those different indicators for you as well. So now that I have that pulled up, I believe I'm going to go ahead and copy that link and put it in the chat for you as well. So there, Kirk, is the new normal link. And if you scroll down to page... actually, I'm just going to copy this and put it over here really quickly so we can all see it. So if we scroll down to, where is that page here? I can't even see what page. Page 22, you can see it takes prepared and resilient learner and breaks it up into the different definitions. So a prepared and resilient learner demonstrates knowledge of content skills and standards, or applies content knowledge to real-world contexts and reflects on successes and challenges. So it does this for all of the backpack skills. And I personally think that's the easiest way to digest it. It can be so like lofty to say, oh, I'm an emerging innovator, but when you come here and you look down and you say, oh, an emerging innovator takes appropriate risks and makes adjustments based on the successes and failures, it's much easier to apply that to a lesson than it is to just say emerging innovator. So I think the specificity of that really lends itself to be helpful to how you're planning your lessons. So we had the backpack support playlist that we showed you. We also wanted to show you, if you go to bit.ly/things to monitor, and I will also put that in the chat for you. This is something that we send out to our school innovation team Google Classrooms every Monday. And hopefully you are seeing this from your STCs or your LMSs or your SDILs or your AICs. But this is something that we do every week, and we want you to just kind of see some things that we've had on our minds that we think are pertinent and relevant. So you can see this past week, the JCPS Minecraft site was on there. We always shout someone on Twitter that you should follow. If you wanted to email Becca because you won one of those stickers, you can click on her email right here where it says Rebecca Reynolds. Or let's say you had a question for me or Russ or Kathleen. If you click there where it says Matt Bolka, oh, it's going to open my webmail for me. Oh, that's unfortunate. I don't want it to do that. It'll take you right to where you can send me an email to ask me your questions. So we have those things in there for you. So let's go back over to the chat and see if we have any other questions. Dr. Coleman said, don't forget the performance outcomes for each skill. Those will help too, and it's linked inside the teacher backpack. So don't forget that. And let's see. I am seeing not too much more. Russ, Becca, do you guys have anything before you leave?
No, I think that's. I think we've covered everything. Just one more thing about Kirk's question. I'm just going to another shout out to somebody in Zone 3. Skates Davis, kindergarten teacher at Goldsmith Elementary, created a poster with the backpack skills to put it in kid-friendly terms, kindergarten-friendly terms. So like prepared and resilient learner, like I try and I try again, that kind of stuff, where you put it in kid-friendly terms. That might be something you want to do, is talk about what it means, have that discussion in the Google Meet. What does a prepared and resilient learner really mean? Well, I keep trying, that kind of thing.
All right. Well, we appreciate all of you being with us this afternoon. I think we were up to like 68 viewers at one point. That's the highest I've seen in an afternoon in a long time. So thank you so much for being here, for chatting with us. please let us know if you have any questions. We love to answer them and love to help you and your students get that stuff into your backpacks. So.
Yep, and if you guys have anything else to share that you didn't get to share in the chat, be sure to go on Twitter and use that hashtag JCPSDiggin and our hashtag JCPSBackpack and keep sharing.
Yes. Well, thank you. Also, we have a 30-minute block here until our next session for Computer Science Ed Week comes on. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to play a video that we had on the channel a while back. Oh, actually, before we get to that, I am so sorry. We have one more thing. We would love for you to give us some feedback on how we are doing in our trainings with you. So I'm going to post this in here. Please let us know what zone you're in, what school you're at, and if we can provide any help to you, any support. So we love to hear that. So please let us know how we can continue to support. So thank you for being here with us. We're going to play a video, like I said, from earlier in the year, which was actually in the spring, on defenses during NTI. So we're going to see how some school leaders navigated through defenses during NTI. So thank you.
We have Dr. Coleman, and she is going to be sharing with us, among some other friends, defenses during NTI. How are you doing, Dr. Coleman?
I am well, Elaine. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Thank you.
Good.
So who do you have with you today?
So, well, first of all, Dr. West was having trouble getting on. She said the link wasn't working for her today. So if somebody can check with her, that would be great. So I hope that Shavita will be with us from Brandeis Elementary. Tara Greenwell and Bethany Dages will be with us from Ramsey Middle School, and Jennifer Rulon will be with us from Seneca High School. We're going to be talking about, as you all know, defenses and how some schools are handling those in this challenging time. By the way, I just got off of a hangout with Alcine Mumby, one of our learning partners. She's actually in San Francisco. She works for Envisions, and she's helped us a lot with our defenses and just our backpack overall. And she is telling all of her colleagues, her network, to tune in to the Digital Learning Channel, and she said they're watching all over the U.S. So she is so thankful for this. So that's a big shout out to you, Elaine, and your team. That's fantastic. But we want to go ahead today and talk about how schools are handling defenses. That is a challenge during this time. So we've got some great examples of that. And I also want to give a big shout out to a few other schools I've seen just in the last several days who are also doing defenses. And this is just happens to be who I've seen on Twitter. I know there are more, but Central High School, I know, has a good system in place. Kenwood Elementary, I know, is also doing defenses. I saw some great pictures from one of theirs yesterday. And so is Crosby Middle School. So I'm sure there are more, and if we would love to see that on Twitter. We'd love to see pictures, and I'd love to just hear how you're doing that. If you have a chance to shoot me an email, I'd love to know. So, but was Sharita able to join us?
We are working on making sure she gets that link. While you're presenting, do you mind clicking the closed captions for us so that we can make sure people can
And what if we go on and let Tara and Bethany start?
Okay.
And we'll just switch it up a little bit. How about that?
Sounds great.
Okay. So Tara and Bethany, I'll take over.
Okay, sounds good. I'm Tara Greenwell from Ramsey, principal at Ramsey, and I have a backpack extraordinaire and 8th grade math teacher, Bethany Dages, with us. So I'm going to let Miss Dages drive the presentation right now. and I'll wait a second until she gets it up there. The number one thing that I think we've all talked about, and I know we've talked about it all week, is flexibility, and it's one of the big pillars of our district at this time. At Ramsey, and I know across middle schools and elementary schools, flexibility is key here. And Ms. Dages, I don't think it's up there yet. Are you sharing your screen?
She is. We just don't have capability to get your screen looking different. So if you need to, you can click on her, and then that way you can see it.
I think
Yes, I'm sharing. Sorry, I was muted because I didn't want the feedback.
Okay. Okay. Now it's on there. I see it now. Okay. So just tips for admin and backpacks. Scrap the plan. We had, like most of you, plans all the way up through May to have our backpacks done, and we were on a roll. And so then this happened, and we've just had to readjust. And so we've given guidelines, but we've allowed flexibility. We have an 8th grade plan that Ms. Dages is going to pop up here, and as you can see, it provides a lot of accommodations for how to do things, but also gives our kids flexibility for how they do that as well. If you could go back to the presentation, thank you. We also use Google Classroom to post our backpack assignments in there for students to upload. What this does is it creates an easy organizational tool so that teachers can see when students are ready to submit. And also they can provide feedback from multiple content areas. So Ms. Dages will show you in a second how her ELA teacher and the math teacher and the social studies teacher can collaborate to provide feedback on their artifacts and just their presentation techniques. We also have recording and live options. So we use Screencastify for most of our presentations. And right now, with the code CAST_COVID, you can get free extensions on your Screencastify, which is really exciting. Live defenses can be scheduled through Google Meet. So if a kid doesn't want to record it and they just want to do it live, that works too. And of course, flexibility is key. So we have phone-in options available. I want to emphasize that this is not always black and white, and it takes teachers, admin, and support staff willing to reach out to kids to see what their needs are during this time. For organizational purposes, we've put the actual Google form and the rubric on here to make it digital. That's for easy organizational purposes, but also so that we can keep track of which kids have passed and which kids need support and feedback as well. It's been a team effort. In middle school, we have teams, which is a wonderful thing in small learning communities for our kids. So you'll notice when Ms. Dages presents that each team has used our guidelines, but also provided exemplars and really clear directions and videos for the kids on an individual basis. And finally, don't forget 6th and 7th. You know, we had a lot of momentum with backpack across the district and at Ramsey. And so we want to ensure that our kids are still uploading artifacts. So one thing we've recommended is that 6th and 7th grade still upload 4 out of 6 of our success skills by the end of the year, in addition to what they had. And so there is no better time than right now to emphasize project-based, hands-on learning, real-world learning, where they can then upload that to the backpack and probably remember this experience for a long time to come. So I'll now turn it over to Ms. Dages.
Thank you. All right, so our middle school, like she said, we are divided into teams. So in 8th grade, we have our 3 different teams, and what we have is live links, and I know this presentation will be shared later, to all of our different directions, different videos that we have recorded to try and help our children out, forms that we have made so that they can let us know if they want to video or if they want to do a Google Meet, and that kind of helps schedule those things out. I'm going to show you my Google Classroom and what that looks like as far as their directions. I gave them a copy of a rubric and then a copy of what some of the keys that JCPS said were in those different skills, some of those components. So what you can see here is when kids turn them in, I can see that very easily. I can also go look at any of the kids as they are working on their backpacks, which allows me to give them live feedback. So some of the kids that I have had conversations with, we get to have these private comments over here on the side. So even though I can't see them and talk to them,
I can leave them comments at any point in time. Here's where our ELA came in and said, hey, we did our code in the library in my class that could be used for this skill. Down at the end, you can also see once they get to the point that I think they are ready, I let them know that, and so that they can go ahead and take a video of themselves presenting or schedule a meet with us. Here is another young lady's defense who actually successfully passed a couple of days ago, and she just attached her video right here to this assignment, so we got to all watch that, which was awesome. But there's some more just comments and feedback and us going back and forth having conversations about those different artifacts and those different explanations and skills. The last thing I wanted to show you guys was a couple of our examples. One you're going to see is a little bit more casual, and the other one's a little bit more professional.
This is my backpack defense for my 2020 school year. A little bit about me. I've played tennis ever since 6th grade in my 8th grade year. I'm hoping to continue this and play for my high school team. I'm also in FCA. FCA stands for Fellowship for Christian Athletes. This happens every Wednesday of the week, and we learn about God and curriculum. I'm also in Best Buddies and Peer Partners. These are basically the same thing, besides Best Buddies happens outside of school and Peer Partners happens during school. In Best Buddies and Peer Partners, we provide general education students and special education students, and we each get a buddy, and we aid them through their work and help them and become friends with them. I love traveling with my family and friends. Our favorite places to go are Myrtle Beach and Holiday Road, although this year, don't know if that's going to happen. When I grow up, I want to become a special education teacher.
So I wanted to show you guys that one because I think it's really cool that some of the things she is doing in 8th grade at our school, being in Peer Partners and Best Buddies, is going to help her in the future based on what she wants to do in her career, which I think is really cool.
Hi, my name is Aiden Koenig. I hope everybody's staying healthy and safe out there. Without further ado, I'm going to present my backpack. I was born in Louisville, Kentucky, and I live with my mom and my dog named Knox. When I'm not at school, I enjoy playing video games with my friends, drawing, playing Pokemon, watching Star Wars, and learning every lyric in the Hamilton soundtrack. At school, I play saxophone at Ramsey's band. I'm in robotics, and I'm on the archery team. When I go to high school, I hope to continue doing robotics and archery and further my knowledge of computers and graphic design. In winter, my reading math score was a 236, with my lowest area being key ideas and details with a 220. In spring, I hope to get a 240, and I can get this goal by reading different genres of writing to improve what I don't understand.
So as you can see, those are two totally different personalities, different professional levels. I love that he hooked his up to the TV because it made it a lot easier to see than the computer screen. But one of the things we are also doing at Ramsey, when kids are passing their backpack defenses, I am making personal phone calls to them from my Google Voice number and allowing them to actually have a conversation with me about their backpack, and just having that personal conversation to let them know that they have passed has been a huge positive experience for me and for my kids. And honestly, they just love talking to us too, which is nice that since we don't get to see them in person right now. So thanks, guys.
Thank you. That's fantastic. I bet those conversations are just awesome. I bet they love that. That is great. And you all notice if you're watching, I mean, the support materials that they've made available to their students, I mean, just incredible. And it seems like, Bethany and Tara, you all are you've kept in real close touch with them. I mean, you're commenting on their slides over the side. And then what about kids that are not, kids that aren't able to, be with us digitally? How are you handling that?
That's a great question. We have a support staff that's been assigned to our students that we knew in the beginning might have some more difficulties, but we also have an attendance team that's tracking our non-digital learners. So they are getting contact weekly with an assigned support staff to provide that. And we are in the process of scheduling the phone defenses or however they'd like to do them within the next few weeks.
That's great. Really good. Okay. Okay, Sharvita, we are so glad to see you here. I'm sorry you had trouble getting on, but we're going to go right back to you if you're ready.
We are ready.
Great. All right, and I'm sharing my screen, allegedly. I think I am. So we'll follow the same pattern if you want to.
Okay, sounds good. And again, my academic instructional coach is on with me, Karen Jones. And as my middle school colleagues have said, again, the goal is to be extremely helpful and to provide as much feedback to our students as possible. One of the things that I'm finding throughout this process as we're working through our fifth grade defenses is just a level of communication and collaboration between home and school. It has been so critical in helping our students to navigate the resources. Brandeis has taken the opportunity to leverage using Screencast-O-Matic and now Screencastify, as well as Google Meet, in order to help our fifth graders complete their defenses. I think one of the benefits that we've had, and Karen will be able to talk a little bit about some of the tools we put in place, was that about 98% of our backpacks were completed prior to us starting NTI. And so we had access to their presentations. It was really just a matter of them being able to do their defenses. This year, we have had our students attached to adult mentors in our buildings who have met with them throughout the school year, who have provided really great feedback to them. And so they will be a part of their defenses. And so as we have transitioned to NTI and students have had an opportunity to kind of see the process of what they need to do. And Karen, if you want to pop in, Karen made a video of how to use Screencast-O-Matic to record their videos. And as you can see on the presentation, 2 different links, she walked them step by step on exactly what to do with Screencast-O-Matic and how to put their videos on there. Once students completed their videos, they go to a Google form, and the Google form allows them to put a link in. And we have a student example. So you see the Google form. So it's just a matter of them linking that presentation into the document, and everybody having an opportunity who is a part of that defense panel. And there's 3 of us that's on the defense panel. So teacher, mentor, and an administrator who is a part of that defense panel, an opportunity to review the student's defense. There is an electronic form that we'll take a look at in a moment, that we provide feedback. So it's an electronic version of our rubric, and to give feedback to students that is shared with the homeroom teacher. And the homeroom teacher is responsible for giving that feedback to their students. And so they compile that information, and then they actually have conversations with their students about the success of their defenses. We do actually have an example. So Miss Bella, if we can go to her defense, we will look at a little bit of hers.
Hi everybody, I today am going to do my backpack, and I want to thank you for taking your time out of your day to be able to. So let's get started. First, to just get me rolling, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about me. So I love softball. It's like my passion sport. I am tomboy. I have probably never worn pink. I'm not a big Princesses fan, you know. I love Ocean Beach and the Cabin I was in, which is my I got to know, and so yeah, can't wait to go. When I think of productive collaborator, I think of setting goals for a group to make us a better team and to make us a better group together and just being better and being a great team, a good project. And yeah, and so I have some artifacts to share that with you. So the Roaring 1920s, and that was the passion project I did, and I was a productive collaborator doing that because I really had to, we had to be ready. We had to be prepared. We had.
Okay. So if you go into where the Google Sheet is and click on that, again, you see where they post their video link. And so that will help us to be able to just go in and see that. One of the things that I didn't mention was that Ms. Jones also did an example of what the videos would look like. And so for us, of course, with our kids being younger, the modeling was so important. If you go to the next slide, into the Google form, that is a copy of the rubric. And if you go back out and into the one under it, it's in an electronic version of it. And so this will help us to compile that information for our students and for their teachers. One of the things that I did ask the teachers to do as a part of this process is to have the kids do an actual reflection on this process. It was always built in for them to reflect on the backpack process. But now with us being in NTI and it kind of shifting in some ways, for them to be able to reflect on now, what has this process meant as a part of their learning. So we have a soft deadline for the end of April for these to be uploaded. But honestly, whenever we get them, we will accept them and start reviewing them and giving them feedback. Again, for our students who need alternative ways to defend, again, having access to presentations, we are more than capable of being able to support our kids in other ways. For students who don't have access to technology, being able to support them in their defense.
Hey, really good. Thank you. You can't watch these defenses without smiling. That little girl, one of the things that I think you say that is so funny, Sharita, is that the defenses have really grown in their length since you've been doing them this way. I think that's funny. Hers was like 15 minutes. Right. It was just talking. It was so funny. Right.
This is the academic instructional coach from Brandeis, and just Sharita hit on really everything, except there are two points that I'd like to make, and not necessarily in this particular situation, but just kind of moving forward. I think a couple of the best blessings that we have had is very, very early on. So kind of thinking about maybe next year, if you guys haven't done this yet, very early on next school year to attach kids with a mentor. And we worked really, really hard and are very blessed to have teachers who fully embrace this and support it. We're kind of all in this backpack together. And so I very strategically assign every fifth grader to a mentor and really carefully make those pairings. If it's maybe a teacher that they formerly had, maybe in kindergarten or first grade, or someone that they have a relationship with, and they're their mentor for the year. So it doesn't all rest on the fifth grade teachers. And that has helped us in this scenario because now if a child wasn't completely prepared, they're tapping into their mentor. And if a student is trouble with Screencastify or Cast-O-Matic, they're doing a Google Meet with their mentor and recording that. So I really think those mentorships are just critical, and we started them much earlier this school year than we did the year prior, and it's been such a benefit. And then the other thing, if I could suggest to you guys, is try to make your own backpack defense. I made one, and it is not easy. So, I really looked at it from my adult standpoint and in the role of a coach. And I found artifacts of me being a productive collaborator and me being an effective communicator. And I made one, and I've actually presented it to the 105th graders, and I had sweat running down my back. I was so nervous. It is not easy what we're asking these kiddos to do. And I actually recorded mine, and it's linked on that spreadsheet, and not suggesting that it's an exemplar one, but you're certainly welcome to take a look at an adult version of a backpack. And, maybe next year, think about trying to make one. And it is not easy. So those are great idea.
Whoops. All right, everyone, we're going to end that video that we were just watching. So, again, sorry. That video was backpack defenses during NTI, and I'm going to go ahead and this should be available to view. So this is the slide deck that we were working off of in our backpack refresher presentation. So you'll have access to all those videos on there, like how students upload artifacts, how to upload with a phone / iPad, the backpack playlist, things to monitor, and then that defenses during NTI video. So thank you for tuning in with us. Before we get to our next session, let's go ahead and take a look at our schedule so you can see what we've already covered and what we still have left to talk about today. At 12:30, we had the MTSS Behavior Support Team Specialist for elementary schools on. Then we moved into PPE, COVID-19, and Safe Crisis Management. Then we went to our backpack refresher with the Dig In team, and we just saw that defenses during NTI video. Coming up next in just a minute, we have the kickoff to CS Ed Week. That is Computer Science Ed Week. With Danielle, Catherine, and Glenn. And then we're going to end our day with FEV Tutor with Sean Cicero. Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at JCPSDigIn. Use the hashtag JCPSDigIn when you tweet at us. That way we can continue to spread that brilliance around the district with a like, a follow, and a retweet. Remember, you can go to the jcps.me/NTI site, click on the Teacher Toolkit, and that will take you to the virtual learning schedule, the complete Teacher On Demand NTI 2.0 playlist on our YouTube channel, and a slew of other links on here to different departments, different things, different tools that you can use with your students during NTI. So it looks like our 2:30 crew is in here. We have Danielle and Catherine with us. Welcome, ladies. How's it going?
Going great. How are you?
Good, thank you.
It's going good.
Good. So it's 2:30 and the floor is all yours. Hi, Glenn.
Hi. All right. Hey, Glenn. First, just thank you to these teachers that joined and said yes to being on the show. But this is one exciting show because it will kick off our Computer Science Education Week of 2020. And we do have quite a few exciting updates in store for you. So let me share my screen, because I do have access to the slides, and hopefully you are seeing these slides. And let me turn on my wrong button. Let me turn on my closed captioning as well.
It's okay. It's Danielle's first time, so it's okay.
Yeah. That's good. All right, here we go. So, Computer Science Education Week, what is it? That is an annual program that is encouraging all K through 12 students to take interest in computer science. So, more than likely, you probably know that it is Hour of Code. So, some people call it Hour of Code Week. Some people call it Computer Science Education Week. But Hour of Code, that is used as something to encourage all students to participate in coding 1 hour at least 1 hour during the week of December. So that is December 7th through 13th. Of course, you can participate before that time, but we are really encouraging every single student, every single adult to participate in 1 hour of coding between now and December 13th. So let me, because I know Glenn has to go to a meeting, let me go to his presentation so he can share how he is implementing Hour of Code, computer science, coding, etc. with his students. Oh, Glenn, you're muted. Glenn, can you hear me? You're muted.
Yeah. Oh, are you gonna click, so you're gonna click the slides as I go?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So my name is Glenn Francisco, and I work for Brookline School, and I'm the computer lab teacher there. And I have used for the last couple of years, I've tried out a lot of different coding programs, and I've really gravitated toward code.org because it's really it's kind of got everything I need in it. Let me kind of go over what I'm talking about. So with code.org, there actually are several things that you need to consider before you actually use it, and that is when you set it up, you want to set it up to be used either with Google Classroom, Clever, or put in an individual user code. Generally, a lot of teachers want to use a Google Classroom or Clever to set it up to sync it because it syncs automatically. The curriculum that you use with middle school, which is what I teach, is the Express curriculum or CS Fundamentals. And CS Fundamentals is a really robust, complete program, whereas the Express program, it takes little pieces of the Fundamentals program and speeds kids through it. So it's kind of your choice. You wouldn't want to do both because it duplicates. The settings, in the settings, when you set it up over, well, I don't know if there's a switch over here to show it, but settings will allow you to view the kids' progress and also to resync. So periodically when you're using code.org, you do have to resync it to either Google Classroom or Clever by, manually. So just remember that that's something that may happen if you have high turnover students like I do in my program. We have kids coming in every, few weeks or so. So we've got to resync a lot. There is a tool called paired programming, which allows kids to pair up, and let's say a kid's struggling, and this would be really great to use in our digital situation right now where kids are working remotely and they're trying to figure out something and they have no one to turn to get help. If you set up paired programming, it allows somebody else to remotely work with them to help solve a problem. And then status. The status bar down below, as you can see, shows how kids are performing on different assignments. And so they gradate over to the side there. They start off with a 0 and then a green circle if they're partially working on it. If they've kind of got it, they get that 1 circle. And then they can complete an assignment if they may have to use more steps than they're supposed to, like they're supposed to use a loop, but maybe they just go through the steps instead of looping it into a group. They can complete it, but obviously try to move them to minimizing the steps as well. So that's what this scale works for. Go ahead and flip to the next slide here. Lessons. So ideally you want to assign one section at a time, set a goal each day, what you want them to accomplish, and test out the assignment for yourself first. So everything you set up for the kids is also set up for you. So when you go in and set up an assignment, you can go into that assignment as well and do the assignment. So for example, I've got down below, I'm showing how one of the very first things it shows kids is how to manipulate the graphics to snap code blocks in place to set up the logic on this. Also, this is a really cool, I work with a lot of kids who have reading disabilities and learning disabilities. And so there is a reader on here that actually talks through exactly what they want them to do. And you can see over on the right side there's a little play button, and it also has reader scripts there that you can click to the left of the play button, which will actually highlight the word as it's reading it. So it's kind of cool. So let's see. Yes, go on to the next one now. All right, so some of the skills that, of course, are going to develop are block coding, which then we take and then we move on to Minecraft. And the block coding really, really helps them with some of the stuff that we do in Minecraft. Organizing their thoughts, which is really great for a lot of my kids. I've got a lot of kids with attention deficit disorder, and they can start to slow down a little bit, organize. And using the graphical interface, it works with their multiple modalities to help them to think the way they need to think. It's really cool. Critical thinking skills are, of course, developed with this, logic and problem solving. So math, English, language arts, all of that is a very beneficial thing. Go ahead. Benefits, of course, accessible, like I say, to all learning styles and levels, multiple modalities. Coding spans multiple curriculum areas and strengthens learning skills, as I mentioned, in various curriculum areas. It helps students with their attention deficit issues, to be able to work and focus. This is a web-based program. It's not an app, so as they work in it, there's a lot of instantaneous collaboration that can be done with it. As I mentioned, that one tool which allows kids to pair together and work. And then some offline activities are also available in it, which I have not tried yet, but I want to soon, which are the digital citizenship and various other things. Go ahead and skip to the next. Some of the pitfalls and issues. Now, Express versus the fundamentals program, as I mentioned earlier, there's some duplication there. So you definitely want to plan what you're going to do first. Are you going to be in this for the long haul for a couple of months, or do you want to just get kids through it fast? Do you have speedy learners? If you do, then you might want to do the Express program. There are some, I call them dance party deviants who get into one thing. There's a segment in here which is focuses on it's like making people dance and stuff like that, and has great music. And of course, the music's getting kind of old, and they're not updating the music, so the kids don't like that. But they get in there and they have a lot of fun just listening to the music. So you got to kind of keep them moving on. Navigation out of topic. To other comforting activities. So things like the dance party or going to things that they like, you have to kind of watch and help them through it. There's a high student turnover. Let's see, wait a minute. I think I already covered that. We can skip that. Go ahead and on to the next slide. Some modifications I would recommend: skipping activities, allowing, let's see. I already mentioned that earlier. Yeah, okay, I already mentioned both of those. Did you skip the slide before that? No, okay. So, all right, go on to the next one. All right, this is the last one. Comparison with other coding programs. My personal favorite choice is code.org. As I mentioned, it's got better rigor, I think, than all the other programs. It's more in-depth. It doesn't have any ads. It's not overly gamey, and it doesn't have a lot of the distractions that I've seen in some of the other programs, like community forums, and it doesn't get you off task with navigating to other off task topics as easily. So that's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you, Glenn, so
You're
much
welcome.
for sharing.
Okay.
All right. So now we're going to turn it over to Catherine.
I'm kind of in the same boat as Glenn. I'm a huge proponent of code.org, and I teach elementary, kindergarten through fifth. But one thing that I like to do with my littles before is I'll do some unplugged activities where, especially with kindergarten and in the NTI realm let me back up. One thing that I've done with all my classes the past couple of weeks is we've gotten started with coding, because what I like them to be able to do when we get into what is considered the hour of code week or the computer science education week is I'd like them to be able to go in and explore the different parts of it on their own. So I want them to have the background to be able to create the block coding, to create the scripts, to be able to get the different little projects on code.org or another site that would work for them. So what I'll do even with like kindergarten is we go in, and what I did this time with NTI with using Google Meet is we talked how it's giving specific directions and instructions and learning that that's part of what coding is. If you want it to do exactly, whatever it is that you're giving the directions to, if you want it to be exactly what you want, you have to be specific. So I always start a fun game of Miss Teggy says instead of Simon says with my kindergarten and first graders. My second graders through fifth, they're pretty apt to jump in and get going. Codable, I put on here as well. I have not had an opportunity to use it this school year. I did use it the last school year. It is more of a game-based coding activity site. They loved it. It's a fun one to try out. But I have mainly used during NTI during this time code.org. And one thing too that I found last year with my kindergartners, I kind of waited because with the whole idea of them being able to use the computer so well and things like that. Well, this year we jumped right into it because if, like Glenn showed in the one slide, it shows you, especially with the littles, with the fundamentals piece of it, it guides them of how to use the Chromebook and how to use the touchpad and all of those things at the very beginning. So which is wonderful setup because as those of you who've used this site before, each lesson gets progressively a little bit harder. And so what I do is I use mine through Google Classroom and I sync all my classes that way. And then I set them all up at different lesson levels. So obviously with kindergarten, I start with A. And then what I have done, because the one downfall that I'm finding is with some of my students who might not be where the rest of their class is, or might need a little bit more practice in one more area. I've gone in with them on the NTI aspect of it specifically and had a special meet with them and shown them how to go back. Because once you set a class on Google Classroom, once you set it to a lesson, you cannot individually assign a person a different section, which is unfortunate. And I wish that we could do that. But it's really, once you get on, if I was in person, once I did this last year, I would sit with the student and show them how to go back to the previous sessions and we would work on it there. Another activity that my students love to do for the unplug section is we also pretend, and my fifth graders love this, we pretend we're robots. So we'll have, at the beginning of the room, I'll place a starting point and at the other end of the room. And I also work with my library media specialist in this, and we use the library. We place an endpoint and they have to code their partner to get there. And that's found to be really fun because, a lot of times you'll see students who are oh, just walk forward. Well, that's not going to work. You have to walk forward 6 steps and then turn right and then walk more 6 steps. So that's learning that specific direction part. But I can't say enough, Glenn went on about the code.org. It is absolutely, once you get past those unplugged parts, they just jump into it and they've loved it. So for me, right now, during all of my lessons that I'm doing during NTI, I've really been focusing on teaching all of my students the different parts of code.org. And then what we're going to do during the hour of code week is they're going to have an opportunity to go in with the Minecraft, with the dance party that Glenn was talking about. There's a sports one with the little Angry Bird guy. They get to create their own coding problem, and then I let them share those. And so then we all come together. So that's kind of how I approach it. We usually, at school, I made a big deal about it and did all kinds of fun things about it. We've been trying different parts of it here with NTI, but so far I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from my parents.
And that is also just all of the things that you talked about when the activities that you implement with your students. I would love to be in your classroom.
Come on anytime. I'm always open.
Yeah, awesome. Just because the passion, you can hear the passion that you have for it as you are talking about it. So you are doing an amazing job at implementing coding. And it's not just 1 week or one activity. It is multiple times throughout the year because you do see the importance in it.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so next. So we did want to share some resources with you. First, we do have a choice board of 4 different grades. So the first choice board is 6+. And as you can see, there are different activities that are available. So there is an unplugged activity. And when we mention unplugged, that means without devices. And some of you may be thinking, what? we're all NTI, but yes, you can still experience unplugged activities with your students. I know I have a first grader at in JCPS, and sometimes that student or that teacher assigns unplugged or just paper-based activities with your student. So if you do want to experience unplugged activity and experience coding, that is possible as well. As well as we have Apple Swift, AI, Brain Pop, and coasters, as well as Minecraft. The exciting thing with Minecraft, which we will talk about a little later, is that they just released their Minecraft Hour of Code 2020, I believe yesterday. So it's fresh off the press, and that was released yesterday. So we will be sharing more about that in a few moments as well. And then there is the choice board for kindergartens through fifth graders as well. So let's talk about other resources that are available to you. And that is the interactive lessons every day. And this is put on by code.org. It is every day at 11 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. And they are streaming to YouTube, which is awesome. And they have different activities that your students and you can experience. So they are calling it Code Bites. So again, just going off of that 1 hour, that bites that we learn about in coding, that is Code Bites. And on Monday, they're training a computer AI with sign language because we know the theme for this year is CS for good, and we are learning how we can use computer science for good. So on Monday's theme is training AI to have ASL interpreters, so to read those sign language, which is powerful. As well as on Tuesday, it's the dance party. I think that's one of my favorite activities that Code.org ever came up with is that dance party, because students can pick their own music, or they can upload any music that is not available in Code.org. On Wednesday, it is the outbreak simulator. So as you know, we are in COVID. So the virus has infected Monster Town, and now they are coding an outbreak simulator and make predictions about what will happen to the neighbors of Monster Town. So that is Wednesday. And again, it is live on YouTube. The fourth one is design apps for good. So we are learning about our community. We are learning how, again, we can make computer science for good. And Minecraft is so popular, and Minecraft will close out the week of how to help the agent activate switches, place blocks, and clear obstacles to pick up any items for the journey. So that is a little bit about Code Bites. It is linked to our presentation, and it will be linked as soon as we get off this call, so you can access that as well. And speaking of Minecraft, again, it is freshly released. It is newly released as of yesterday, but they do have Minecraft Hour of Code Facilitator Training 2020. So I know a lot of JCPS teachers, they have been attending a Minecraft cohort. This is another opportunity to gain skills in using Minecraft. You can receive 500 points by participating in this activity. So they have all the course objectives, so participants will learn about Minecraft Hour of Code 2020. The course structure, they will read, watch, do, reflect. And they do have a very great lesson on Minecraft, and again, incorporating that CS for good. It's the tale of two villages, which is a very powerful lesson in Minecraft. And as you can see, they do use both blocks and Python as well. All right. I do see a question in the chat, and the question from Kirk Haynes says that, is anyone familiar with Google CS First curriculum or activities? And I can say, Kirk, we are familiar with Google CS First curriculum. The unfortunate part is that in JCPS, it is not approved for student use. So students cannot log into that platform. However, you can use that platform as a teacher for you to download or you to access that material and implement. But again, it's not approved for student use, but we are continuously and constantly working on approving things for students as well. All right, so now we have provided you with resources. So how can you get involved? The very first thing is that we do want you to register on hourofcode.us, and this will let us and the entire world actually know that you are participating in Hour of Code. So if you see the map and look at all of these Hour of Code events that are happening all over the place. That is amazing. So down below, you can join us during the Hour of Code, and then you can tell them a little bit about your event. So that is how you register for the Hour of Code. The second step is that we do want you to get your entire school to participate in Hour of Code, and all means all. So we're talking about all students, all employees at your building. We do want everyone to participate in Hour of Code because we do know how powerful that is. And then the third step, and all of this will be communicated through your digital innovation leaders. And this is just an overview to get you all excited. But the third step is that we do want you to fill out a form. It's just a brief form of how many students participated and how many staff participated, because we want to celebrate you and we want to have a good grasp on JCPS impact. Lastly, if not important, is that we want you to share all of the ways that you are innovating using the hashtags JCPSDigIn and the Hour of Code hashtag on Twitter. We are very excited when you all tweet out everything that you are doing. For me, particularly the Hour of Code, just because that's one of my rocks and that's one of the things that I am passionate about is coding. So let me really quick show you also where all of that information can be found, and that is on the website. As you can see, I was editing the website. So this is the website. We'll give you step 1, step 2, step 3, as well as links to the choice boards right here and videos that we have done on the Hour of Code. And this video will be uploaded to the website as well. Again, this is your choice board. Feel free to make a copy. Feel free to edit the choice board and give it to your students. All right. All right. Lastly, I do want to shout out these schools. They were the leaders of the pack. So they have already signed up to participate in Hour of Code 2020. So huge shout out to Arbondale, Blake, Bloom, Kemp Taylor, Carruthers, Central High School, Cochran, Crosby, Dunn, Foster, Farnsley, Highland, Jacob, Zeke, No, the Phoenix School of Discovery, Thomas Jefferson Middle, and Valley High School. Huge shout out to you all for being one of the first schools in JCPS to sign up to participate in the Hour of Code. Big congratulations to you all for taking that leap forward and being one of the first. And I believe, Catherine, do you have anything else that you want to add?
No, for me though, for those of you that teach elementary, one thing, just to remind them as they jump into this, kind of like how you were talking about, Daniel, with your first grader, the unplugged activities are just as important as getting on for them to understand the problem solving pieces and how it all works together. But thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, not a problem. And I completely agree. Just because we are in NTI, you don't have to stop using those unplugged activities. Those unplugged activities are just as powerful as if you would have had a device. So I totally agree.
Awesome. Well, great show, you all. Thank you so much for being on here. We appreciate it. The only question we had in the chat was Kirk's, and you got to it before I could. So thanks, Danielle.
No problem. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Catherine.
All right, thank you. Bye, you all. All right, everybody. It is 2:56. We have just a few minutes until our last session of the day starts. So remember, you can follow us on Twitter at JCPSDig, and that stands for Digital Innovation. When you tweet at us, please use the hashtag JCPSDig, and that way we can see it, we can give you a like, we can give you a retweet, and we can continue to spread that brilliance around the district. Don't forget, if you go to jcps.me/NTI and then click on where it says Teacher Toolkit, that is the NTI website, you can get to the live virtual learning schedule right here, like we just said. You can also get to the Teacher On-Demand playlist for NTI 2.0 on our learning channel, which you are currently on. And you can find a slew of other things like Gale and Savvis Realize resources. You can find some help for some digital tools. So if you have some issues with Microsoft Teams, we have a resource list here for you. We have some departmental resources, like the Affirming Racial Equity tool. We have the Deeper Learning resources, some AP Classroom things. And then we have some digital agility certification options down here for you as well, like Google Level 1 Certified Educators. We have Nearpod Educators, which I know a lot of schools are starting to use more and more frequently. So we are going to get into our last session. Sean, welcome. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So are you going to be sharing your screen with us today? Do you know how to do that on Google Hangouts?
Just learned today.
Yep. Oh, awesome.
All right. Can you see that?
Yes, we can. So if you hit hide and then close cap. Oh, you're just learning. What are you talking about?
Oh, from this morning session. Awesome.
All right. Well, we're ready for you whenever you are.
Awesome. Well, hello everyone, and thanks for letting me hop on today. Today I'm going to introduce FEB Tutor and really walk through what we are, what we do. We are essentially providing a new virtual resource that's available to all JCPS students in grades 3 through 12. So definitely want to explain how we do it and how students can access it in their virtual settings. My name is Sean Cicero, and I'm an academic success coach here at FEB Tutor. So I work with schools and districts across the country to implement tutoring programs. So I'm super excited to be working with JCPS this academic year. So like I said, I'm going to introduce and talk a little bit about FEB Tutor. I'll go through a live demonstration that really showcases a tutoring experience from a student's perspective to show you how students will log on, access a tutoring session, and then I'll answer any questions that you all might have. But I will go ahead and get started. So basically, FEB Tutor, what we do is we work to affect change in K-12 public education, and we do that by providing data-driven, highly targeted, live, one-on-one instruction. And thinking about how we provide this equitable remote learning, we do this in a couple different ways. And this live one-on-one instruction, every time a student logs on, whether it's they're requesting an on-demand session or they're accessing a scheduled tutoring session, they are meeting with a real live instructor every single time. There's someone on the other end of the computer working with them through their assignment, through their content, a dedicated tutor that's there for them, again, 24/7. What's really great about virtual learning and this virtual platform is that it's extremely accessible. And so it's accessible 24/7 through that on-demand session or scheduled sessions. All students need is an internet connection and a device. We're accessible through computers, smartphones, iPads. Really, we can be reached anywhere. We have a family and student engagement team here at FEB that really does exactly what it says in the title. We work to engage students and families who are at home to schedule tutoring sessions. We'll provide counseling calls. We think it's really important for families to talk to a real person, to know that there's a real human behind this team that is really dedicated and working hard to make sure that they're set up for success with FEB Tutor from the start. We work to connect the core learning environment of every school. Our goal is to be a direct extension of JCPS. We're not working to replace any teachers. We want to be that extension to help support teachers, support students, and provide just an extra layer of support. And we love feedback. And so we work to empower student feedback at the end of every tutoring session by asking them to complete a feedback form to rate their sessions, to rate their tutors, leave any comments. But then we'll also work to solicit feedback from families through those academic consultation calls, but also teachers and administrators. Feedback is it's important for everyone, and an important way for us to continuously get better and to ensure that we're providing top-notch tutoring sessions every single time a student logs in. We also think transparency is super important, so we provide ongoing reporting to all stakeholders, families, teachers, administrators, students on an ongoing basis, which I'll talk a little bit about in 1 minute. So we provide this live one-on-one instruction to extend learning outcomes and accelerate outcomes for all students. Extend learning opportunities and accelerate outcomes for all students. And we do this in a couple different ways. And so we provide adaptive learning style options for all students. We know that no student is the same and all students have unique needs. So we really work and design a platform that meets all student needs. So we have learning style options available for verbal learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic learners. This live one-on-one instruction, I mentioned students meet with a real life tutor every single time they log on, whether it's an on-demand session or a scheduled session. And students and tutors are able to contribute real-time feedback. Tutors work in real time to provide feedback to students to help them in the tutoring session. Then again, we also solicit that student feedback in real time, so we're able to continuously improve on our end. Each lesson are standards aligned. We work with specific schools and the standards for each state to create individualized learning plans for each student. At the end of every lesson, students are prompted to complete an exit ticket, which are research-based assessments that we use to gauge a student's mastery of the content, and that tutors or instructional team will use to, like I said, understand where students at, understand where their mastery lies, and it allows us to inform our lessons on an ongoing basis. Safety and accountability is super important to us, so all sessions are recorded and are available for review for any stakeholder, so whether that's students, families, teachers, administrators. These session histories are all going to be available in student dashboards, educator dashboards, and the whiteboard recording, which I'll show you more about, in the chat history between student and tutor are available at all times. PBIS and SEL is also super important and a big component to our dashboard and tutoring sessions. We think it's important to build student confidence and create student advocacy. So we have this space where students are able to work one-on-one with a tutor and really build a relationship between student and tutor. We now have a 90% match rate where we work to match students up with the same tutor every time. So students are able to build a relationship with their tutor, feel more comfortable in that one-on-one digital space, and be more apt to ask questions, interact, make mistakes, and just feel okay to want to learn and dive into the content. We also really work to be accessible for English language learners. So we have a language adaptation tool, and students are able to go in and at any point in the student dashboard or in their tutoring lesson, they're able to toggle back and forth between English and 40 different languages. So it really allows students to better access the content from start to finish, and it really aids in comprehension. The biggest piece that is really available and we want for students, we want teachers, administrators, students, and family to know is that we provide this 24/7 live homework and coursework support. So students are able to connect with a tutor one-on-one at any time, day or night. So students can do this by scheduling a tutoring session or requesting an on-demand session. I'll walk through how students are able to do that, but those on-demand sessions, students can log on to their student dashboard, say what's helped, upload an assignment right into the dashboard, say what subject they need support in, and when they click connect, they'll be connected to a tutor within 30 seconds. And again, that's day or night, 5 a.m., 11 p.m., what have it. We know students need help at any time, day or night, and this is available to them as a resource. We provide support across all core subjects, science, math, ELA, social studies, and can really connect in any specific class around those core subjects, whether it be calculus, stats, U.S. history, too, what have it. We're able to provide support in all those subjects. We are able to connect and support the entire district of JCPS. We know that there's a lot of students, and we know in a virtual setting, sometimes everyone needs that extra layer of support, and we are here to help you all. We are connected to your core curriculum, and so our tutors are able to really cater their individualized lesson plans for each student based on JCPS's curriculum across all grade levels. I mentioned those progress monitoring piece, that reporting piece. We think it's super important that we engage all key stakeholders because everyone has a stake in a student's success. So we provide weekly progress reports to students, parents, guardians, teacher administrators that detail students' attendance, their proficiency, their exit ticket scores, their participation points, what lessons were covered throughout the week. So we think it's important that everyone has an idea and everyone can see what's going on with the student in FEV. We want to be as transparent as possible, really from start to finish. Students will get, and all parties will get, attendance notifications. So if a student will ever miss a session, teachers will be notified, students will be notified, parents, and our family and student engagement team will work with students to reschedule and find a different time that works best to schedule a tutoring session at no charge or consequence to the student. We provide real-time alerts and reminders to students. So every morning before a scheduled tutoring session, students will get a reminder that they have a scheduled session at 2 p.m. or whatnot. And then 10 minutes before that session, we'll get another reminder. This is an extra layer to just let students know that they have that upcoming session and how to log on and whatnot. So I mentioned that family and student engagement team. Team's really important because especially in this really virtual hybrid world that we find ourselves in, this team will work to do the heavy lifting for schools, and will work to provide ongoing communication, whether it's phone calls, emails, text messages, to families and students who are at home, to provide that collaborative awareness building and really empower families to opt into these tutoring sessions. Again, we know educators have so much on their plates already. We want to take this from the schools, the teams, and do this heavy lifting and outreach to get students involved and connected. And another big piece is the technical and scheduling support that we offer. We have an email and a phone number that's 24/7 that students, families, teachers, administrators can call at any point if they have questions, they need support logging onto their dashboard, they forgot their login credentials. We have people behind that email and phone number that are available all time to support students and really all parties. I'll put contact up at the end. At this point, I will switch over to a live demo. But please, if there's any questions throughout, feel free to stop me at any point. Happy to make this a conversation too.
No, we haven't seen any questions yet, so you're good.
All right. And can you see this blue screen now?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So I'm going to dive into this live demonstration of really what a tutoring experience looks like from a student's perspective from start to finish, from this login process all the way to the feedback form that all students are prompted to complete at the end. So I mentioned that what's great about this platform is that it's extremely accessible. All students need is a device and that internet connection. And once they have both things, they will go to fevtutor.com. Be brought to this blue login page. It's this login tab at the top of the screen. and they'll be provided with their own unique username and passwords. Our team should have everyone registered from JCPS by the end of the day, and all students will receive a welcome email with their username and password with login instructions on how to access FEB. So that is coming very soon, and once they have that, they can sign in and they'll be brought to their student dashboard. There's a lot of cool features in here, and as definitely recommend students kind of look around, explore. A couple things I like to point out before we dive into the session is that right away, kind of front and center, students will see their schedule. If they have scheduled a one-time or a reoccurring tutoring session, they'll show up right here, front and center. Once students are in their dashboards, there's two ways that they can book a tutoring session. They can do that by going over here to this book a session button. They'll click on this button, choose what subject they need support in. They can upload a file directly into the dashboard. So whether that's a homework assignment, a class assignment, they can upload that for both the tutor and the student to see at the same time and work with them. They can leave a specific comment saying, I need help with multiplying. And then they're able to choose a date and time that works best. So whether it's a one-time session or a reoccurring session, they're able to do that right here. The other way to book a session in the dashboard is by requesting an on-demand session. If I didn't have a scheduled session and a tutor waiting for me, this button would be blue and would say request an on-demand session. I would click the button and kind of see a similar drop-down menu where I'd be able to select what subject I need support in, upload an assignment, leave a comment, and then when I press connect as a student, I'd be connected to a tutor within 30 seconds. And again, that's available day or night. And so this red button is blinking, and that's signaling to me that I have a tutor waiting for me and I'm all set to start my tutoring session. So once I join, I'm brought to this two-way synchronous whiteboard here where the tutor and the student are going to do the majority of their work together. Over here in this chat box, you'll see that my tutor's name is Camille. She's welcoming me to this tutoring session and treating me like I am a student logging in for the first time. I'm just going to say hello to Camille back. And so I mentioned before, but Camille is a real-life tutor on the other end of this, working with me, going to be taking me through my lesson from start to finish. This chat box is that primary form of communication that students and tutors will be communicating with throughout the tutoring session. A lot of students feel really comfortable with this chat box, especially in the digital age that we're in. Students feel comfortable chatting back and forth and really appreciate the anonymous nature of it all and really feel comfortable working one-on-one in this chat box throughout the tutoring lesson. But again, we understand students have different needs, and so we have different learning style options available to learners. For students who prefer to hear what Camille is saying in the chat box, they can go up here to the speaker button, click on this, and we have a text-to-speech option. So everything written in the chat box will be read out loud to the student. And then for our verbal learners who prefer to speak directly to the tutor, they're able to go to this conference button over here and activate their microphone, and they're able to speak directly to their tutor throughout the lesson. We find that our younger learners, our third, fourth graders really prefer this microphone option, those who might not feel super comfortable typing back and forth. And so because this is my first time logging into a tutoring session, Camille and every tutor will give a brief orientation of the whiteboard and explain the different tools that are available to the learners to use. So for our kinesthetic learners, these tools include a pencil that we can use to write right on the whiteboard, highlighter with a bunch of different colors to highlight the text directly on the whiteboard. You can put a text box on screen if they don't want to write, use a mouse pad. We have shapes if it's a geometry lesson or whatnot. Coordinate grid if they need to plot something right on the screen. And then for our English language learners, I mentioned that language toggle. So up at the top of the screen, it's located here. Students can click this button and toggle back and forth between English and their preferred language. And when students do that, everything on the whiteboard and everything in the chat box will be translated. And again, students have to respond, because it's an English immersion model, students have to respond in English. The ability to toggle back and forth really aids in comprehension from start to finish of the tutoring lesson and allows students to better access the content. And then in a tutoring session, students have the ability to upload assignments right into the dashboard. So they're able to upload a homework assignment using a file on their computer, or they have the ability to share their screen with the tutor. So both the student and tutor can work from that same assignment, work on specific problems, really provide the support the student needs. So I'm feeling really comfortable with these tools and this whiteboard, so I'm ready to move on to the lesson. So all of our lessons follow the gradual release responsibility model. This I do, we do, you do, followed by an exit ticket. I mentioned before, all lessons are standard aligned, and all exit tickets are standard aligned assessments that are typically 3 to 5 questions long that tutors and our instructional team use to gauge a student's mastery of a concept. So at the end of the lesson, if I score this 100%, it'll signal to tutors, okay, Sean, student has a really strong understanding of this order of operations with exponents. Next time she logs in for a scheduled session, we're ready to move on to the next concept. If you don't do so well, that'll signal to the tutor to the tutor that we need to spend a little more time here, do some reteaching before we're ready to move on. Camille's going to, in every lesson, the tutor is going to introduce the topic of the lesson and really work to activate my background knowledge. I'm checking where I'm at. If I've solved a certain problem before, if I've solved order of operations, the tutor, this real life tutor, will take this information and really work to tweak or cater the lesson to the student to really meet that student's needs and support them where they're at. So for this I do portion, it's going to be more tutor-led to start. So Camille and all tutors are going to be working on the whiteboard. She's going to put a question up here, this expression that's listed at the top, and then provide explanations in the chat box of how I'm going to solve the problem. While she's putting that up, I like to point out that in every lesson, we have a notes and available to students that provide definitions, step-by-step instructions, examples that students can go in and reference at any point, and that's available at the top of the screen. I'm going to take a stab at this and go ahead and try to solve this problem. I'm currently using a mouse, but students, I've used a mouse pad before. Students use a mouse pad, or on iPads, they'll use their finger, or they can put a text box at anywhere on the screen and put information in that way. I made a mistake here, but that's all right. Camille's pointed it out and can work with me to figure out where I went wrong. But I understand, I know exactly where I went wrong. So I'm going to fix that mistake and keep going. So tutors are going to encourage active engagement through the entirety of the lesson. You'll see over here, Camille's give me a +1 point. Those are participation points that she's referencing, and those are at the top of the screen here. So right now I have 2 participation points, and students will get those throughout the lesson by asking questions, writing on the whiteboard, making mistakes, fixing their mistakes, chatting in the chat box with Camille, our tutors. It's a really great motivator for students from start to finish to see how engaged they are, try to rack up those points. And it's also a great indicator for parents and teachers. They're able to see, and those points are recorded in those weekly progress reports, and then in the session histories, they're able to see how engaged students are in each lesson. And we've seen parents use it as an incentive for like a minutes of extra screen time, or we've seen teachers use them in award bonus points. However it is, it's a great indicator just to show and see how motivated and engaged students are at their tutoring lesson. We have a couple quick signal buttons up here for students as well who maybe don't feel like writing in the chat box. If they have a question, they can raise their hand. If pacing's off and they need the tutor to go slower or go faster, they're able to click these buttons. And if they need to step away, get a drink of water, whatnot, they pause this and then I'll signal to the tutor. The student has to step away for a minute. They'll be right back. But Camille and I will keep working together through the I do, we do, you do. She's going to gradually release the responsibility to me and give me more ownership as a learner until I feel like I've really mastered the concept. I will take that exit ticket, and after that, I will be prompted to complete a feedback form. I mentioned before, we really work to empower that student voice and solicit student feedback. So at the end of every single tutoring session, whether it's on demand or scheduled, we ask students to complete the form and rate their tutor on a scale of 5 stars, rate their session on a scale of 5 stars, and leave any comments about their session. We have a quality assurance team here at FEV Tutor. It's dedicated to ensuring quality. So anytime that a session is rated less than 5 stars, our team automatically flags this session, and we'll go in and review that session recording to see what might have caused that lower rating. We look at all student comments and feedback and really work to make any necessary tweaks, like a pacing issue or whatnot, to really ensure that every single time a student logs in, they're receiving a top-notch session. Whether it's that requested on demand or scheduled, we want to make sure that students are getting help and support they need every single time they log on to a session. And at this point, I'm sure some of you are wondering, how do students get started? How can they access their dashboard and request a tutor? And we have a couple different ways to make it easier for students and families to really get started. The first way is by emailing us at ky@fevtutor.com. This is the support family and student engagement email that I mentioned before, that a person is behind 24/7 and will help students schedule a session, request a tutor right away. We ask that students, families, email this ky@fevtutor.com with their preferred days, times, and subjects, and we can get them scheduled for a session right away. Or if a person would like to speak directly to a representative, can call this 855 number and be connected to somebody and create a schedule in real time. Second way is that students will all receive welcome email with their login credentials, but then we're also going to follow up with an email with this weekly lesson sign up Google form. So this is another option in which students can create a schedule really at a click of a button. They'll go through, they can fill out what day, time, what subject they need support in, and create a schedule right then and there. And then they'll receive a confirmation email confirming their tutoring schedule within 24 to 48 hours. And then the last way is by scheduling a tutoring session right in their student dashboard. And they can do that by that book a session button or requesting that on-demand session. It'll always be available at the top of their screen, in which they'll be connected to a tutor within 3 seconds, day or night. One thing that we're going to introduce to all teachers and staff at JCPS is a teacher referral form. So if you're thinking that you might have a student who would benefit from a tutoring session or extra support in statistics, any class, we'll send out a form in which you can identify which student you'd like to refer for tutoring. We ask that you fill in their information, what subject, and our team will reach out and contact them and create a schedule with them to provide extra support in subjects X, Y, and Z. We really want to make sure that this is a resource that students are that they know about and that they can use at any time, because we're here to, in this virtual world and all worlds, we're here to provide that extra support, and our goal is to see students succeed and grow academically, and we want to make sure that all students have the ability to sign in, have access, and every time they're connected, they receive that top-notch tutoring session every time. But this is my contact information on the screen, my email, sean.c@fevtutor, and my phone number there. I'm your dedicated academic success coach, so I'm here to really work with you, all teachers, administrators, to really ensure that this program is set up for success. And basically, I'm your point person. So if you have any questions, concerns, definitely feel free to contact me at any point. And then that 24/7 support email, if you have tech issues, other questions that you just want to talk to our support team, our family student engagement team, again, there's someone behind this email and phone number at all times. But I really appreciate the time to talk to you all and kind of introduce FEB Tutor. And we're excited to be working with JCPS this year.
That's perfect. Thank you, Sean. We appreciate it. We didn't see any questions in the chat for you this afternoon, so great session.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. That does it for us today on the JCPS Digital Learning channel. Don't forget, tweet at us at JCPSDigIn. Use the hashtag JCPSDigIn. We will be back next Wednesday in the morning with some other awesome sessions for you. Don't forget, in the afternoons, we have our Savas sessions going on still as well. So today, from 4 to 5, we have our middle school science Savas session, which will be right here, jcpsdigitallearning.com. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and thank you so much for tuning in.